This is Trophy Gold, Castle Amber Part 2. I want to begin by doing a bit of recap and then just a little tiny bit of housekeeping for the character sheets, and then we'll get going. So you all were on your way to some other adventure. I don't even remember what it was because it wasn't important. When you made camp and suddenly woke up, someone fell asleep on watch, woke up and found yourselves in the grand foyer of a house, of a castle, and you began your exploration of the castle. Essentially, that's what it boils down to. Discovered that it is the home of the eclectic, we'll say, or eccentric Amber family. And you encountered a few Ambers. You encountered a small band of Rakasta who are also trapped there, but they've just made a home in Castle Amber. You got involved with some hobgoblin ghost servant hijinks. And importantly, you achieved a set goal, which is to find a silver key. You don't know what the silver keys do yet, but you know that as a player, you know it's going to be important to something, right? And you had made your way through the, I guess it would have been the west wing of the house, or not all of it, but you kind of, saw a good portion of the west wing of the house. And then you made your way to the sort of central forest area. And it is like an indoor forest. And it's an interesting space because the ceiling is a sort of like multi-domed glass ceiling. And it's very tall. It's like 100 feet high. And there's a path that you're generally following through this forest. You encountered some different things in the forest. The last thing you encountered was a maiden and her unicorn. And she gave you a warning that if you dally too long in the forest, you may have to face the Great Hunt. That was her sort of warning to you all. And then at the very end, you were all awash quite suddenly in amber-colored light. Maybe not unlike Jim's background right now. You're awash in amber-colored light, or James's for that matter. And that amber light sort of caused everything to sort of stop. Not you all, but just like everything else sort of like just slowed down to a stop. And then it healed you as well. So all of you are back at your starting ruin. And that's kind of where we left things. That was a pretty quick summary, but if I left anything out that is important to your character, maybe a condition or something like that, let me know.
Do I still have the telepathy then?
Yes, I think that's a condition, right? If I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
Yeah. You still have that until you don't. So that's pretty cool. Anything else that I missed or need to be reminded about?
And I mean, we won a boxing match. That was kind of cool.
That was cool. Yeah, that was with I think that was John Lewis Amber, if I'm not mistaken. Let's do just a little bit of housekeeping then. So for the housekeeping, I want you to scroll down to that part of the character sheet that starts with gold and then continues with hunt tokens, ruin, conditions, and burdens. And I just want you to read all of those things, mostly for people watching the video since we can just read it. But we'll start with Revel.
Revel is currently sitting on 0 gold, 1 hunt token. He's back to his starting ruin of 3, and he has 6 burdens.
Fabulous, thank you. Let's go to Orlin.
I actually have 5 gold because I have gold left over from last time that we didn't spend or anything at the end because like during the final bit I sold that spear, which gave me gold. So I've got excess gold from having sold that spear at the very end of the previous incursion. Yeah.
Okay. So you actually can't keep excess gold.
Okay.
so that'll just need, if you don't keep the spear, it'll need to get put in hoard. So
yes. Yeah. And so I think it was like, it happened after we did all the hoard stuff, which was why the order of operations and I ended up with that banked. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put, I'm going to do 4 in parentheses and then a 1 after it because I picked up I spent to get 1 gold. I spent tokens to get 1 gold earlier.
On this adventure, right?
Yeah, on this adventure, yeah. And I have 4 from the previous one, and we'll just bank those, and then I'll do the narrative stuff for banking it when we.
Yeah, sorry, I didn't know you did
complete
that,
this.
so I would have made
That's
that
okay.
clear.
Yep. No. It was like weird in terms of order of operations because it happened when we did all the banking of gold, and then we did the go to the pub stuff, and it happened in the pub afterwards. So.
Oh, that's right. Got it. Yeah.
So for our purposes, I have 1 gold on this adventure.
Yeah.
I have 2 hunt tokens in reserve. My starting ruin puts me at 2. I've got no conditions, and my burdens are 5.
Fabulous. Thank you. Horgust.
So Horgust also has no gold. 1 hunt token now because I spent 1 to partially solve our last set and get the key. My ruin has gone back down to my starting ruin of 3 from 5, which was an immense relief. And I imagine that the pain of his now severed jade stump has eased somewhat in the amber light, and my burdens are 6.
Fantastic. Thank you. And finally, Sybil.
Yeah, I have 3 gold so far, and down to 3 hunt tokens because of that insane lucky streak. I think I rolled 6s for every hunt roll.
3 is a good amount to be sitting on right now. So
yeah, 3 ruin. I still have telepathy and 3 birds.
Fantastic. Thank you. So I will direct your attention to the map that is on the image board I shared last week.
So can we pause for a moment just because I'm curious about something?
Oh, sure.
So I'm looking at Sybil's 3 burdens, and Sybil, you've got 2 pieces of equipment and 2 rituals. And so is that
more or
rituals don't affect burdens?
Rituals don't affect burdens.
Not your initial ones. They make your starting ruin higher. Yeah,
that's right. It affects ruin and not burden. And so burden is just
in the beginning, it's just weapons and armor.
Okay.
But once you go to Hearthfire and start doing like your household or rituals or training, then it goes up to burdens. But initially, it's just affects your starting ruin.
That's right, because he's brand new. So okay,
yeah, we've all been through a couple of Hearthfires, and Sybil has.
Yeah, I was trying to figure that because I've got the same amount of stuff. Why do I have 2 more? But okay, cool, great.
Yeah, but I think you have a household,
yep.
and there's other things.
Nope, that's cool. Thanks. Yeah.
No worries. Okay, so I will direct all of your attention to the map, and I think the last time we left you all, you were sort of like in that southerly portion of the indoor forest. There's actually a door there that like is a glass door that looks out to the outside, and you can see again that thick mist or fog that is sort of rolled in, and you're in the amber light. You see the maiden and the unicorn, and all of that is kind of happening. I'm curious, before I make the light go away and we continue, I do want to just get a sense of what everyone's thinking right now. Like, how are you feeling? You physically should feel better, but like, just how are you feeling about this situation, the strangeness of this situation? I think we'll start with Revel.
Revel doesn't like it, and I think what he likes the least is the fact that being in what must be another world, he doesn't even have the social sway he has felt like he could fall back on. So he is entirely out of his element, and he is, while feeling better, still very disconcerted about the near poisoning that he had.
That's right, because we had the dinner and different things happened at the dinner, including Sybil's newfound telepathy, right? Orlin, how are you feeling right now?
So I am feeling like this is one of those weird things where we are mostly along for the ride, and that, we'll either, we'll come to the end or we won't. And there's not like I'm not feeling like, I mean, not in a bad way or anything, but just like, this is very strange. And, we don't have any frame of reference for this, for how long this is going to take. And we may be here a while, but right now, I am enjoying the fact that we are effectively outdoors. I mean, whatever, there's that glass dome, but there's all these, like, I'm sure some of these trees I've never seen before, you know, and I'm like studying how their pine needles differ from the pine needles I'm used to. And, you know, this leaf has 6 flanges on it instead of 5, like you would expect, you know, from a, you know, from a whatever, from a maple where we're from, kind of thing like that. And I'm kind of, you know, just sort of like head on a swivel, just looking around. I think kind of enjoying myself at this point.
Great, thank you. Horrorguest, we've talked about how several times now about how the earth, the stone, the rock is literally foreign to you here, right? I'm curious how you're feeling.
I think maybe it's a combination of disappointment and relief because Horrorguest, maybe when he felt this sort of sense of wellness and lightness suddenly come over him when this amber light washed over everything, part of him was secretly hoping his arm would grow back. It didn't. It's still a stump, but he feels like he seriously depleted his geomantic energies. He was cavalier with his use of magic in the Hall of Mirrors and at the feast, and he paid the price, and he's still paying the price. But some of the immediate cost of it has been purged from his system, and for that he's grateful.
Fantastic, thank you. And Sybil, how are you feeling?
I think Sybil is also intrigued by all these, you know, this you know, terrarium or whatever it is, like where these come from, what are they, and yeah, just imagining the places that all these things came from and wondering why they're here.
Fantastic. The amber light goes away almost as quick as it came. It sort of appears, it sort of heals you, and time stops, and then it just it goes dim, and then it disappears, and you are once again on the path. And I guess at this point, I'll remind you of the set goal, which is to safely reach the blood-stained arch. I'll type that for you. And with that, I guess I'll just turn it over to you all to decide what you want to do from here. Continue down the path, go off the path, something else.
With the departure of the light, is the sleeping golden woman still there, or have they moved too?
No, she's still there. Yeah.
I think Horrorguest would like to know more from the lady about the source of this amber light, because if it can do this much with a brief flash, what could more of it do?
Check in with everyone else, and then I might give you that scene, Horrorguest. Orlin, how are you feeling?
I'm feeling like I'm wondering, I'm kind of looking at the path that winds in through the forest and stuff like that, and wondering whether we should continue to play this game. If there's some sort of hunt coming, if this, my concern, my friends, is that the golden light that bathed us is to assure that whatever this hunt is hunting is not too easy prey, and that it will be coming very soon unless we either get out of here or find a means of you know, delaying it.
How far away are we from that glass wall to the south? Or
Oh, not far at all. It's probably, oh gosh, I'd say, I mean, you're on the path and you're kind of on that southerly portion, so 40 or 50 feet away.
Which does beg the question, given that we've found at least one exterior door, whether perhaps we might exit here, move along the wall of the building, and see if we could find another means of entry. rather than have to contend with more possibly carnivorous trees.
That's a good point.
Horagest, did you want to talk to the maiden?
Yes, I think Horagest turns around to the others and says, "Maybe I fell asleep for a reason. I'm not a well man. I'm not going to live very long if things keep going the way they are. I have to pursue this. This is important to me. I will talk to the woman." And he just sort of stomps on over to her and says, "You look like someone who would know about a strange time-stopping amber light. Tell me what you know."
Make a hunt roll.
Okay. I'm guessing this is just pure chance, so I don't think I'm even going to bother making a case for a second dice. It's just a sort of gamble, basically. So I've just got to bring up the right channel. I got a 4.
Take your token. She says, "Ah, the light. Yes, I am aware of it. It is a comfort and a service that the master of this home, Stephen Amber, used to provide to his guests. Lord Amber, of course, is no longer Lord of Castle Amber. He died some time ago, but it seems his magic lingers. I think Lord Amber fundamentally understood that he, his family, their home can be occasionally deleterious to visitors, and so it is an attempt to put your mind at ease, to make you feel welcome."
It seems I'm after treasure that's about more than just baubles. Where is the source of this magic? What engine fuels it? Tell me more.
She says, "I couldn't say for sure. I don't know. But I do know that many of this house's mysteries can be found in the chapel to the north of the Endor Forest. It is probably, I can't say much about it, to be fair. I'm not able to enter, but maybe you can."
You've been very helpful. And I turn to the others and just look at them expectantly and point north with my remaining arm.
While you're having this conversation, you will hear in the distance, somewhere in the thick of the tall woods, you will hear in the distance the sounding of a horn. She says, "The hunt, it would seem, has started. I would not delay, friends." And then she goes back to casually laying down on the horse with a single horn.
I feel like
that's
this is
scary.
I
But
feel
is
like we
that
should
green? Sorry, go ahead.
feel like we should make ourselves scarce at this point, my friends.
I concur. Perhaps, Orlin, you could make the going more difficult for whoever might be pursuing us.
Yes, well, and I kind of hold my hands up and I say, what are we decided then? Shall we try our luck with the path, or shall we try our luck with the exterior of the castle?
I think Sybil pipes up and, "I like your plan about the outside. Seems like they probably wouldn't expect that."
Very well then. To the door, and we'll kind of lead everybody to the front door. And I will do that thing where I kneel down and kind of push my hands into the dirt. And I say, "Best of luck, hunters," and use my germinate ritual to I just want to just blow everything up. Just to, make it as hard for them to get at us as we can. Just basically deter pursuit.
That would also make it harder for you to traverse the indoor forest if you had to, though, right?
True. Yeah.
Fair enough. Let's do a risk roll. If
Yeah,
sounds
yeah,
like what the
I'm-
goal is, if the goal is to like basically slow down the hunt, right?
Yes, that is the goal. The goal is to slow down the hunt. Yes.
Okay, I like that as a goal. Drew, James, Mike, what could go wrong?
I think maybe the hunt is somehow intrinsically linked to the forest, and that in fact it compels them to vigorous growth.
It could make the trees lose their fear of fire.
Yeah, I was thinking it could just make the monstrous trees more monstrous than they already
Mhm.
are.
Perhaps the growth, some of the growth escapes the indoor forest into the other wings.
Indeed. All bad outcomes. Let's talk about your dice. So what do you think here?
I have the
Orlin,
skill. I have the skill plants.
plants, love that. And
Yep.
let's talk about Devil's Bargain, something that will happen no matter what, whether this succeeds or fails. Who has an offer?
I'll reiterate my escaping plants as a bargain.
Yeah, I'm going to say no matter what, there is a huge uprooted walking tree now stomping around the indoor forest. That's my offer. No matter what, that will be the case.
We will awaken the horse with one horn, and it is at the very least unfriendly.
I think no matter what else happens, someone in one of the other wings of the castle notices us and is irritated by our vandalism.
All right, so 2 light, 1 dark. Take it away, Orlin. Risk 2-1.
So
Oh, you have to choose. You have to choose one though. Never mind.
well, if I want to, but I
Yeah.
do, and I like the idea that this is going to annoy some other, some other Amber, second cousin or something like that, whose pet hobby is maintaining this area.
Yeah.
Like they're going to be ticked regardless of whether we slow the hunt down or not. I think so.
Sounds good to
So
me.
this is risk 2-1.
Oh, you have to
No,
put
wait.
spaces there.
But Reich. What am I doing wrong?
I'm
putting
the slash has to go on the other side. Yeah.
There we go. That's what I'm doing wrong. Okay. There we go.
Complication. So the 4 light high.
Can I add a dark? Oh, actually, tell me what the complication is.
Yeah, I'll tell you the
before I
complication.
Decide if I want to reroll. Yeah.
The complication is an arrow from the hunt flies out and kills the horse with 1 horn.
Oh, I don't want to kill. Yeah, no, I don't want that to happen. So I'm gonna. Actually, can I X that for our animal cruelty
Oh,
thing,
sure, no problem. Yeah.
please? Just
In
come
that
up
case,
with something else.
an arrow flies out and kills the maiden.
Maiden. Okay, I'm gonna reroll anyways because I don't want her. I don't want the horse angry at us because that's
Sure.
probably what would happen there. So let me. Oh, there's a dark 4, so that's gonna.
Same result. Maybe a help die. Could be.
Oh, that's right. Someone could help if they want to.
I do have an idea because I still have those paints that the swirling court, the spirits that I could mix up a nice shade of green dimension and add it into your ritual to increase its efficacy by drawing on the hunt in another dimension to combat this hunt.
Sure. That sounds cool.
Roll /weak to get your light die. It's a
That was
3.
unhelpful.
But you don't take any ruin. And this is the result. It has to stop now because 4 is high. So you're going to succeed at slowing down the hunt. I think before the canopy, basically what's going to happen is before the canopy is like fully like like amassed like a wall and tight, a single arrow like gets through the gap, right, and just like pierces the maiden, right. That has a follow-on effect, which I'll talk about once you're done narrating. But basically, get us up to the point where you like slow the hunt down. What does that look like? Yeah, I don't think you can see the hunt; you can just hear them.
Yeah, no, like I know the direction the horn came from, and so I'm just like I said, I kind of push my hands down into the and I think it's startlingly easy, because I am used to doing this in places where like I've got to find some dried gnarled root, you know, in a tomb, or, you know, whatever, like cursed crops or something like this. And this place is fecund, right? You know, it is just, and it's probably, it may even kind of start to pull my arms in. I've got to whoa, and pull them back out, and everything just going crazy, and the glass is raining down as the tops of the trees are shattering the the dome and stuff like this and everything. And it's like it's probably, I maybe look surprised at just how extreme it is. But yeah, no, it's just like a massive, just a wall of jungle at this point.
Just as the hunt is getting close to being sealed off, or at least severely slowed down, an arrow flies through the tree cover, and it pierces the maiden. She sort of like stood up in surprise when she saw the forest growing, and it pierces her, and she lets out a cry and pulls the arrow out, and there is a sort of a wild tearing sound as her form changes. It almost like tears apart, and inside is this massive creature that is the true form of the maiden. It has brilliant golden scales and wings that are like a 40-foot wingspan, tremendously long, a reptilian neck and head and talons, and it just roars out this terrible roar, but also a sort of like, it's a terrible roar, it's a fearsome roar, but it's awe-inspiring, right? Like it's a kind of like, it's a call to arms, it's a call to battle. And she and the unicorn lunge towards the foliage and begin like clawing and ripping and tearing to get at the hunt, right? And so that's all going on behind you. What are you all doing? Revel.
Revel is holding his torch up above them as he's okay. Let's keep moving. Let's not dally. Trying to lead the way to the glass wall.
Sybil, is everybody following? Everybody going to the exit here?
I'm following it and going to try to get this. Well, is there a door? Or is it
There's a door.
wall?
Yeah, there's a door as well. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
We'll try it.
The door opens up, and it opens up to this thick bank of fog. And as soon as even a single wisp of the fog gets near you or touches you, you can tell it's intensely poisonous. You breathe in even just a slight wisp, and you can it immediately begins scalding your lungs, and you have to close the door back. The mist is meant to keep you here. And now you are stuck between a wall of poisonous mist, a battle taking place behind you, and a newly difficult to navigate forest. Horagest, what do you do?
Horagest sits down at the kind of junction between the southern, where the path loops around and then it goes off to the right to the exit. He sits down at that junction on the path and says, "Friends, I have a plan. It may be dangerous, but it's no more dangerous than many things we've done before. And he says, I have a little bit of this paint left. I suggest that we move transversely through the green dimension and out again, thus bypassing this space. The swirling court has taught us much, and I believe I understand the fundamentals of the magic.
The great winged, gold-scaled reptilian beast lets out a roar and a gout of fire, and it just sends up a great big portion of the forest. And you can hear the hunters yelling out like cries of you hear a cry. They're still a little far away, but you hear a cry that's like, truly a magnificent beast. Ho, forward, ho, onward, onward, right? Push onward. And then there's just this gout of fire that like sends up a bunch of this like tree coverage and foliage up in a blaze. This is getting way more dangerous really, really rapidly. Horagist has made a proposal. You can always spend tokens. But yes, Horagist, I'm open to your suggestion if everyone else is.
Horagist, we don't care about the theory behind it. Just do it.
As long as it's not
Very
the
well.
magenta dimension.
Yes, let's hope that we get the colors right. I'm trusting you all to help me with this.
Also,
So
we didn't note it, but I do want to note that your ruin went up, Orlin, on the 4 dark. I think it's just, you probably just like get singed from the heat and the fire and the flame. So, sorry, continue, Horagist.
So I think the way that this might look is that what I would do is get a little basin out of my rucksack or something. Actually, I'm not sure I have anything appropriate. I might have to ask other people for something that's roughly kind of basin shaped. And then we can mix the paint in it like a miniature version of the pool of colors. And then if we all put our fingers in there, we can, mix the green, like if we sit in a circle and we can all travel through the green dimension and pop out on the other side.
I will spend one of my backpack slots to have a bucket. Maybe it's a champagne bucket that I took from the table of the feast or something like that. That I just kind of like tack, put onto my backpack with a string or something like that. But I hold out the bucket to you.
You have a bucket. While this is going on, someone from the hunt manages to burst through at this point. It's a Rakasta. I'm not sure if it's one of the same Rakasta, but it is a Rakasta. And they leap out of the foliage, and the unicorn meets them and just spears them like right through the chest and just like slings their body like flying off to the side. And you can now see spears flying up, like trying to pierce the great gold-scaled beast's hide. Horagist, actually everybody else, what could go wrong here on this risk roll that Horagist is about to undertake?
It technically works, but the color's wrong. We are not in the universe we expect to be going into.
Ooh, interesting. Is the plan to disappear into this universe for good, or to come back, Horagist, somewhere else?
I think the idea is to basically kind of skim across the surface of the green using the kind of greenery in here as a kind of medium, sort of skip over and then like basically use it as a kind of crude teleportation.
I feel like this is what in classic D&D we would call dimension door.
It kind of is, isn't it?
Right?
Yeah. Love all this. Great. Mike, just so you know, the group has these pigments from a previous adventure that basically give them access to other worlds. It's a play on the old D&D idea of color pools leading to various planes of dimension, right? Or various outer planes.
Sure.
So what could go wrong?
Yeah. What if afterwards we start tracking the green dimension everywhere? Like,
oh, it's like shows up or something.
Transforming Castle Amber into Castle Viridian.
Intriguing. Any other thoughts about what could go wrong?
And second hitch it. Oh, go ahead.
I was gonna say, I think you get there, but you have to like face something horrible in that dimension before you can get out.
Yeah, or we let something loose into the castle.
So let's talk about dice. What do you think, Horagest? Do you have an appropriate, or you have a piece of equipment that you're using? So you've got
Well,
that.
we have a bucket, but I also have rituals, and I have the paints, which I'm going to say I completely expend, and I, have to delete, get rid of them basically. But I have rituals, and I have like attunement, so I feel like I could maybe combine these things together narratively to sort of.
Oh yeah. I think you'll get like kind of a ritual out of it, right? I think that's the idea here. What about Devil's Bargains? I'm going to make my failure condition a Devil's Bargain and say there is something you have to contend with before you get to the other side.
Perhaps the dragon comes looking for us later, expecting something.
Like I think I really thought like my hitch a ride thing that Horgest goes through and something, inhabits his gem-like form. And so he's got a hitchhiker as a result of making this journey that specifically attaches to the fact that he's got, whatever the silicate parts to his body, because it couldn't attach to.
That would work well too, given that actually the reason the stump of my arm is the way it is because of exposure to the green dimension. So I'm going to take Jim's idea just because it kind of ties in so nicely.
Fabulous. And I'm going to make you do a dark die. So do 2 light, 1 dark.
All right, let's go for it. I got a 4 dark as my highest, so so no rerolls for me.
Unless somebody helps, but
I could help.
Yeah. How do you help?
Yeah, I think Sybil, takes some of this mixed pigment paint and kind of like dips their hands in it and flings it along all the floor. I forget the name of the artist that does that sort of thing.
Jackson Pollock.
Jackson Pollock, yeah.
Yeah. And I think this is sort of a dancing sort of phenomenon. So maybe rituals.
Whoa, that's awesome. I love that.
Yeah, I like it. It's great. Roll to get the light die, just roll /weak.
A 3.
No help. 4 high, and it's a dark. I think that means
Actually, can Revel try and help?
Yeah, there's no reason why you can't all try to help. Yeah, absolutely.
Revel will kind of just push Sybil out of the way and say, "You weren't even there. You don't know how this works." And he'll take his expertise with all things Swirling Court, of course, to the job. 5.
A better result. It also makes it so that Horgest doesn't take a ruin, so it's helpful in that way. It's narratively, fictionally the same result, but it does help on the ruin. Are we all good? Did anybody else want to get a die in there? I love it. So I think the complication is quite simply going to be that one of you can't get in quick enough before you have to face a Rakasta or a Lupin or some other type of hunter, maybe even the head of the hunt. In any case, it's up to Horgest to decide who's going in last.
I'm thinking it will be logically whoever wasn't helping, because everyone else would have been obsessed with like getting in, and they would have been the ones that jumped in. So I think that would be. Is that Orlin? Was Orlin the only one who?
Yeah, it was.
Orlin. Give us up to the point where everybody but Orlin escapes. What does it look like, Horagest?
Okay, so basically, yeah, Horrorgest asks everyone to sit round in a circle around the champagne bucket full of swirling green. And, Sybil does the Jackson Pollock pattern around it, and Revel kind of re-stirs the paint to try and get it to mix properly, because it had all these weird veins in it, and like it was immiscible. It was like making these weird patterns, but it goes like perfect green. And then basically everyone has to daub it on their forehead, and there's this flash of green, and everyone sort of falls into the pot, and disappears into it. But I think, basically Orlin was too busy keeping an eye out for all of the terribly dangerous things that were approaching, and just gets the paint on just too late, just as something lurches out of the trees onto the path.
Indeed, they're leaping out of the trees is another Rakasta. These are not the same Rakasta as you met in the west wing of the house. These have somehow gotten in with the Ambers or with the Hunt or something, but this one is a very leapy one. It's like a cheetah Rakasta, very thin, very nimble, comes sort of somersaulting out of the tree line, and just basically like leaps around shooting arrows at you, Orlin. And it's combat. It's 7 to defeat it. Tell me how you're vulnerable and roll a weak point.
I mean, I'm vulnerable because he's got a bow and I don't. Like he's like, if he's bouncing around and stuff like that, it is like, it's that classic thing where I can either defend myself or try and get at him. And it's, like winning this fight is going to be, do I manage to do that? And so I think it's that balance between having to just keep from getting shot with an arrow versus trying to figure out how to get to him is that it's the ground between us that makes me vulnerable.
Yeah, that's great. Roll forward/weak.
All right, so I got a 1.
And now do a combat 1.
Five.
All right, so first round of combat, no one takes a hit, but just describe it.
Yeah, I think this is like, I also don't want to get too far from the pool, but I bring that my spade, my sharpened spade that I use as my weapon, and he's bouncing around, and I just kind of dash over to. The trees are so thick here that I'm going to try and use that to my advantage. So, he shoots, I'm behind a tree, wonk, the arrow goes into the tree. In however much time it takes him to reach back and grab another arrow, I dodge to another tree, and I'm like kind of slowly trying to get closer to him as I'm doing this, and we're just kind of bouncing around. The trees just sort of circling around each other right now.
I love it. Give me a combat 2. Not enough, but it continues on. Give me just a little bit more.
Yeah, and I think at this point, I think we are being forced closer together because the fire is starting to, like I'm gonna go right, but then oh no, that underbrush is on fire, and so I have to duck left, and I'm worried, that means I'm gonna get an arrow through the wishbone, but he has to jump off of the log he's standing on because flames are starting to lick up that, and it's the thing where like the circle of the battle is kind of being closed in on us as we're, the flames are licking around us.
For this third round, you're also aided by the great reptilian beast's tail lash at the Rakasta. You're rolling 4 dice this time.
Fantastic. That's going to do it.
That will do it. An 11 and no weak point. Describe the end of this combat.
And like it's the thing where like he like I am flushed out by, like maybe literally the hem of my coat catching fire. And I've got to go like, whoa, and I come out and I pound it. And like, I hear him like this like feline snicker as he's just got me dead to rights. And then that tail just comes out and doesn't hit him, but just smashes the log he's standing on. And he just tumbles to the ground. And I just, and I just walk up to him and just bean him with my shovel. And I really quickly grab, maybe that bow and anything else, whatever his silver belt buckle, whatever it is that looks valuable, so that I
We shall
roll
see.
some
Roll
gold on
a
this and see if I get any.
roll a gold. See if you get anything. 7.
So is this just gold 7?
Gold 7.
1 gold?
Silver belt buckle it is. Worth 1 gold. And
then dive into the pool.
Yeah, that's to say, yeah, let's get soaking wet. Good. Everyone is there in the green dimension. Did we describe that during Swirling Court, or is this something new? I can't recall.
I think it was just, we basically got to the point where you described this kind of wild kind of wildernessy sort of thing, and there was like the sound of like the hunt there.
Oh, it
well
was a
in the
celestial
distance.
hunting ground. That's right.
Yeah,
You're going from
yeah.
one hunting ground to another hunting ground, right? Good. You are going to be able to traverse it quickly. And I think I just want to know, as a paint the scene question from everyone, this area, this dimension you're in, it's different. It's not a fire, for starters, but how do you know that you're in another plane of existence? What about this place makes it feel otherworldly?
I'm going to go for the old chestnut that there's a permanent aurora borealis in the sky, but it's like a deep sort of verdant green.
And hanging behind the aurora, there are 3 moons in a rough line.
Yeah, I think it sounds different. Like if you've ever been in a blizzard and it's very quiet and muted, it sounds like that, even though there's no, there's no precipitation.
And I think that yeah, I think that there's a like a almost eerie sense of contentment. Like I was like super stressed out and like heart racing from that fight and everything, not sure I was going to live through there. Boom, I came in and suddenly, oh yeah, this is really nice. I could it's that, boy, I could easily see staying here forever.
Except you can't.
As I look around, yeah, I know.
There is, almost as soon as you all get there, there is an amber light across the field that is not just calling to you, it's pulling you to it. It's like a tether to Castle Amber, and you are, as soon as you arrive in this green dimension, you're like being ricocheted or tethered back into Castle Amber, but a different part of Castle Amber. And once you go through the light, you find yourself, you're back in the indoor forest, but the fire and the battle is behind you by quite a lot, and you can hear it, you can see it, but you are now in the northerly portion, very close to this little path that goes into the chapel area. There's a little path, there's a little door, and so you can head that way if you wish, or you can continue on to the east wing. But we're going to take a 5-minute break, and we'll come back and do that. Okay, we're back. So you can see the entrance to the chapel that the maiden spoke of. You know it's a chapel because there's a large like wooden door carved with sort of religious imagery, right? Like saints on their knees, light, pouring down on their heads, carved, on the wood. You can also see like a couple of stained glass windows on the into exterior walls. Amber colored, of course. Let's just have that scene with you all deciding what to do. Role play.
Revel will kind of lean over and kind of closely examine all the markings and say, I don't recognize a single sister in this.
Well, I'm sure or perhaps it's different sisters that we don't know. Is everyone aware that I was nearly killed by one of the huntsmen back there?
I suppose we are now.
Yes.
You don't
yes.
look worse for wear.
Well, and I hold up this shiny belt buckle. I say, actually, I did get the better of him. Despite the dexterity with which he wielded the bow that he shot at me repeatedly before I was able to escape, I did. Oh, I should note that should we ever see that golden lizard again, if I'm not with you, please.
You can literally see it behind you right now, roaring as it
there we go. Okay.
tears up the forest.
And I kind of point in its direction, and I said, I do owe it a debt of gratitude. It was instrumental in my overcoming the hunter that was after me. And in fact, I am so desirous of expressing my gratitude to whatever powers hold sway here that we should proceed into the chapel, my friends, with all due haste, please.
No great work of magic can take place without some kind of sacrifice, Alden. You know this. But yes, I agree. Let's go to the chapel for prayer. Yes, prayer.
Yeah, I think Sybil is mumbling to themselves and kind of like, it's like, oh, this is real. There's things happening. It's dangerous. This is what did I sign up for?
Indeed. The door to the chapel opens up. This large building is indeed the Amber family chapel. There are brightly colored, though mostly amber colored, stained glass windows inset in the walls all around. There are pews that are made of intricately carved oak and have plush velvet cushions. The floor is like a wood parquet, making a beautiful pattern, colorful pattern. The entire building seems maybe a little more garish than you would expect for a house of worship. Probably the most interesting feature of the sort of central chapel area is the fact that there are 24 marble statues. They are statues of positioned and clothed like saints, men and women saints, by the way, and not of this world, none that you recognize. Revel was correct about that. But these statues, there are 24 of them, and they are lined up along the south, east, and west walls. And there's like a choir loft above your head as soon as you walk in, and there are stairs that go up to the choir loft. And there are doors there's a door on either transept, and then there are two doors at the far end behind the altar. So I'm going to just ask Revel, what do you do? Oh, a new set goal too, I should mention. Find a silver key.
Is this I assume a different one?
Yep, different silver key. Find a silver key.
after verifying that the chapel is as empty as any place in here probably gets, he's just going to walk right up to the altar and check around the back, see if it has like a shelf or a door.
Yeah, absolutely. Take a hunt roll.
Don't suppose any, no, I don't think Holmes would apply here.
That feels like a stretch.
Well, that's a 1.
You lose all your hunt roll tokens. We'll come back to you in a moment. Sybil, what are you doing?
Yeah, I think I'm looking around at the imagery to see if I can figure out anything that might lead to more treasure. You know,
Where specifically are you searching?
let's say I search this this eastern part.
Okay. So we have some statues there. We have the door. There's the transept in general. What specifically are you taking a look at?
Yeah, I'll search the statues to see if there are, you know, any cavities or, you know, do they offer offering areas, etc.
Yeah, perfect. Go ahead and make a hunt roll. Dice
Of
are
course.
cruel
Yeah,
today. These are 1 die hunt rolls that get you. It's a
I
1.
shouldn't have jinxed it.
You lose all your tokens. We'll come back to you. Horgest, what are you up to?
I think Horogest is going to whip out the fork that is now his tuning fork that he stole from the swirling court and say, Amber Lights, I'm coming for you, and start dowsing, you know, like tapping on things, dowsing to try and find the source of the light.
I like that. I'll give you a 2 die hunt roll, but where specifically are you starting?
Oh, good question. I think the thing I would probably do is go up to the choir loft so that I could kind of sweep, you know, try and get it like a compass needle, try and get a sense from up high.
Fabulous. Do 2 dice.
Okay. I bet this is going to be another gnarly roll. Let's try this. Oh yeah, we really are. We're cursed. We're
Yeah.
absolutely cursed.
The die roller said no. You don't lose all your tokens, but you do encounter something terrible. We'll come back to that as well. Got lots of terrible things lined up. Orlin, what are you doing?
I am looking at the stained glass windows, of which I see there are 8 of them here. Assuming that the map that I'm looking at is accurate, that those are in fact that those windows are the stained glass windows
They
that
are
you
indeed,
described.
yep.
Yeah, and so I am looking for the narrative on the stained glass windows. You know, like the trip. You know, like you go to a Catholic church, it's Stations of the Cross, right? Stuff
Mhm.
like that. And so this is what I'm looking for: is if I can figure out, you know, which one are we supposed to look at first, and what story does it tell us about this weird, messed up Amber family as we and whatever, you know, fell gods they worship as I look at the, you know, at each of these.
Yeah, I love it. Go ahead and roll a
Yeah,
hunt
I've
roll.
got symbols as a skill.
Works for me.
Cool. So I'm gonna go do a 2 die hunt roll here. Rocking it.
God damn. The dice are so cruel today. Everyone, no one got any tokens. In fact, we lost a lot of tokens, and it's all terrible. Let's get this misery party started, shall we? Give me a moment to look at the text to make sure I'm not missing a good, juicy opportunity here. I think I know what I want to happen, but just want to confirm that it's a thing I can do or should do. Yes, we shall do that. So I'm going to start with Sybil. Sybil, you are over there by the statues, checking them out. And one of the statues, who has, all of the statues have, like, as you get closer to them, you discover that they all have like kind of a leering smile. It's unusual for saint statues to be expressing in this way, but they all have just this kind of like smarmy, like kind of wolfish grin. And one of the statues actually animates, and it's a statue of a male saint. It animates and it says, "I bless you, my child," and reaches out and touches your forehead. And upon touching your forehead, someone roll a d6 for me.
Two.
Upon touching your head, you feel your body changing, Sybil. You feel something sprouting from your lower back and pushing past your shirt or whatever covering you have. And everyone else can see that you have grown a tail. It's very thick and wide and heavy. Like, you move really slowly because of it. It coils around at your feet, and it's just this flesh covered, round, thick tail covered by just a smattering of peach fuzz, but otherwise quite smooth. And the statue lets out like a laughter, and its eyes are glowing with amber colored light. And then it just resumes its place back on the pedestal. Meanwhile, Orlin, Horagest, Revel, you're all doing your thing. Revel, this is everyone's terrible thing. Revel, you are there checking the altar when it explodes into shards of splintered wood flying in every direction. And rising up out of a pit beneath the altar is a massive construct of bones. It is rib cages and spinal cords and femur bones and skulls all just mashed together, and it's rising up, and it has vaguely appendage-like arms, and its central portion, which is sort of like a head, is 13 skulls arranged in a mandala, and they just scream out at you this like terrible curse. Like they're just like, and you have to fight this thing. Sybil, your tail, if you do the fight, gives you an extra weak point because of your big heavy tail. So
Okay.
you can bat. You don't have to join the fight, but if you do, you have to do that. It's how you're vulnerable, and it's 2 weak points. Everybody else, please say how you're vulnerable.
I'm vulnerable because I'm not there, so I would basically either have to like jump out. You know, obviously I probably have my own like crazy stuff happening up in the loft, but I'd have to run back down the stairs and come back down.
Revel was blown off of his feet by the explosion and was just standing there or lying there stunned as this thing rose. So he's on his like hands and butt and just staring up at it. So he's pretty exposed.
Indeed. Orlin, are you fighting?
Yeah, I'm fighting. I think my weakness here is like professional curiosity. You know, as an undertaker and gravedigger and someone who's, you know, seen like more than his share of ossuaries and stuff, you know, the artistry that went into arranging all of this and stuff, like it's almost a shame that I'm going to have to bust it up.
As this thing has risen, the statues are all chattering to each other. Their eyes are glowing. And they're saying things like, oh, it looks like the lesser ambers are angry. The lesser ambers want to have their way with these interlopers. And they're all kind of giggling and laughing about that, right? And Sybil, are you joining the fight?
Not with the monstrosity.
Very well. The three of you, it is an endurance 11. What were the weak points? What did they end up being?
I have 3.
I don't know if mine's a weak point or that literally it's going to take me around to even get there.
Oh, I'm sorry. What was that? Oh, James, they're just not there. You're not in the fight yet.
Yeah,
Okay,
I'm not sure if I can even join yet. Yeah.
Fair enough. So in that case, it sounds like it's Orlin and Revel. So Revel, what was your weak point?
3.
And what was yours?
Mine's 4.
4. We're looking for 11. Let's have a combat 2. Revel, kick it off.
Eight.
All right. It's a 6 and a 2 for 8. No one gets hit, but give us the first round of combat. Revel, what does it look like? And you can join in a little bit, Orlin, as well.
Revel will frantically grab at his dagger as the first bone.
This thing is
appendage.
just enormous. I want to emphasize how huge it is. The ceilings are like 40 feet high, and this thing is about halfway up. Okay, it's enormous. It's like Dark Souls scale. Okay.
Gotcha. He holds his dagger up just to have something, and the bone lash just scrapes along the silver inlay, and there's a shower of sparks, and somehow he doesn't actually get hurt.
Keep it going, Orlin.
I think I'm taking advantage of the fact that it, at least initially, seems to not want to bust up any of these statues. And so kind of it comes at me and I duck back behind a statue and that fist slams down in front of it, you know, and the statue laughs at me and says, "You can't hide forever, little man." But I take advantage of that just in that moment.
Nice. Second round of combat. Horgus, are you there yet? You're still out of it.
Yeah, I think so. But I'm just sort of sprinting across the floor, you know, towards them. So I'll roll my weak dice. I got a 2, so yeah, and I'll try and join in. Yeah.
This is a combat 4 now. So Orlin, take it away. Looking for 11 on 2 dice. Just missed it. We did get a 4 though, and a 3. So we got some hits unless somebody wants to mark armor, but go ahead and describe it. Revel, keep it going.
He's backing up on his kind of like crab walking, trying to get to his feet in a way, and a lance of bone just spikes down toward him. And there's another shower of sparks as his amulet of protection flares on his chest, and he yelps as burning hair and skin smell fills the area.
Nice. Orlin.
Yeah, and this is where, I think that I have the opportunity to, to duck to duck out between a couple of these statues and maybe, swing it at an ankle or something. But it sees me coming and it sweeps one of those great arms at me. And I managed to duck just enough that, it like, my hat comes off, and now my hair is flying, but, it swung for the hat and not my head. And so did not take my head off with that.
All right, I assume that's armor marked. And Horgus, keep it going.
So I think Horgus sort of sprints across the nave, like with his, puffing and wheezing, and spits out this huge wad of like encrusted gem sort of, onto the ground, and just manages to roll out of the way of a sort of bone spear, like just whistling over his head. But he gets up his staff and starts trying to get used to using it one-handed, sort of twirling it around to try and strike at crucial junctures in the corpse pile.
Nice, I love it. On the third round, a pair of massive bone wings sprouts from this titanic creature, and it rises in the air. The sound is like a rain stick, because you just hear the like of bones, right, as they sort of move and rattle and indeed fall down to the ground. It is now like hovering above you. You have to have a way of reaching it in order to continue being in the combat. It can reach you easily. So Revel, what is this looking like?
Revel is going to throw his dagger at it.
Hopefully hit a vulnerable spot. Is that the idea?
Even if it's just kind of a kind of like a Jack Sparrow-esque panic, like, oh!
Fair enough. I like that. I think there's a chance you could like maybe hit something, or I don't know. In any case, we'll talk about it when we get to that part.
It worked
Orlin.
on the bird.
Oh yeah, Orlin, are you able to keep it going?
Yeah, I've got rope. So I'm just gonna, just like loop a rope around its ankle and, scramble up and try and just scramble up and just be climbing on top of it. Yeah.
I love it. That's very cinematic. I'm here for it. Horagast.
I think Horagast is going to pull out his bag of marbles and say, fly, my little friends, and start shaking them as they glow really hot, and then start like, using his protective gloves to like flick them into the air, like throw them at it, burning
like little
marbles.
magic missiles. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Sybil, would you like to join the fight?
So how many things are how many dice this round?
If it will be 5 unless you join, in which case it'll be 6. And
got that sling right there on your sheet.
That's true, but I think Sybil is occupied at the moment.
You do have a big tail. I think it's fair. You're adjusting to a strange situation.
Well, I'll come back to me when this is resolved, and I'll tell you about it.
I reward cowardice. I love it. Or the game rewards cowardice, actually. 5 combat 5. Let's have at it. As long as one of you can be up there and doing the thing, and Orlin definitely is, even if Revel's throwing an ineffectual dagger, and who knows if Horgus thing is doing anything or not, but we'll find out. Horgus, roll combat 5.
Jesus H. Christ. This is awful.
That is a 10. It is not enough. And Horgus, you're taking 2 hits, 2 ruins. Let's keep it going. Revel, kick us off with your frantic dagger throwing.
as Revel is picking himself up against the far end of the chapel, he just, yeah, in sheer panic and in the hopes that maybe the silver will help, he just chucks the dagger end over end, and it hits hilt first and falls back to earth.
Horagest, keep it going.
Oh, I think Horagest is sort of dodging around, flicking these marbles in the air, and basically at some point gets picked up by the thing that kind of throws him up in the air and starts shaking him, and it rips off his surcoat, and he's only able to fall back down to the ground maybe like less than 10 feet and land with a big thump, and then it just crushes his surcoat and throws it aside and completely destroys it.
Orlin, you're scaling this thing. What does it look like?
What started as Dark Souls has turned into Shadow of the Colossus.
Very good. Yes.
Is what's happening here. You know, like
find the glowing spot on the head.
Yeah, I clamber up a little bit, and it, you know, like thrashes around, and I have to hold on for dear life. But I'm slowly, you know, making my way up its back. You know, I'm probably like, you know, using its rib cage as a ladder now, or something like that, as it's trying to shake me off.
Fabulous. Combat 6, Revel. This is it. Get it done. I'm rooting for you all. Hey,
11.
there you go.
But I think
That's
it
a hits, but when it went. So we had 4-3, which I think are 2 of the weak points, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah. Okay, Revel, keep going.
Revel picks up his dagger, and with a bit more concentration, he's getting ready to throw when it just kicks out at him and catches him. But just before he gets sent flying away, he just stabs his dagger in, I guess, where an Achilles tendon would be, in the hopes that if it does land, it'll be hobbled and he will take a ruin.
Horagest, keep it going.
So I think what Horagest does is, in a sort of desperate last-ditch attempt, he melts a bunch of his marbles together into one sort of tennis ball-sized glass marble, and he throws it at the mandorla of skulls, and he manages to like crack them right in the middle, and it kind of starts sinking, melting in, which presumably then distracts the thing and gives Orlin an opportunity to strike from shadows.
Finish it off, Orlin.
And yeah, and by this time I have worked my way around to its neck, and, you know, kind of climbed up, and there's that, like you say, that kind of whatever, the skulls arranged in that shape, and Horagest hitting it. I see where it went in, and like I kind of like, you know, just sort of like I'm riding a horse, wrap my legs around the neck, and I raise my spade up, and I jam it into the spot that where that went in, and then just kind of, you know, work it back and forth, lever it, and then with a grunt, the skull just splits open, and my ruin comes because I am now 40 feet above the chapel and just
down
falling on top of an inanimate pile of sharp bones. So yeah, so that's my my coat, my oiled leather duster just gets shredded by that. And I think I get the wind knocked out of me, but I am nonetheless for wear, although I'm going to need a new coat.
Indeed, indeed. The statues all animate, their eyes glowing with amber light, and they clap. And then they go back to being statues. Orlin, do a gold 11. At least it wasn't
Profitable.
0. You got 1 gold out of it. One of the skulls has like a ruby affixed in the eye socket. It is the only thing of value in this pile of old bones.
Can I also spend a token, Jason, to sort of soothe my ego,
Of
my
course,
wounded pride?
you can find one of the skulls has gold teeth. You can pry those out. It's worth 1 gold.
And I will spend a hunt token as well for gold.
You find, interestingly, a spinal column that has been plated with silver. Who's keeping the 1 gold from the gold roll?
Which of us got hurt the worst in all of that? I think we all took the same, like roughly the same number of hits, right?
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah. Revel, you have no gold yet, right? And you lost all your tokens. I feel like we should give it to Revel.
Very well.
Thank you.
Pile of bones in the chapel floor.
Sybil, what happened? Where were you? Did you notice that we were in distress?
Nope. So Sybil has been occupied with this tail business and the statue, and so basically what I want to do, I think at this point, Sybil like comes out of this reverie, or not reverie, I don't know, fugue state.
Fugue state.
And looks at the statue, is like, well, you know what? I'm not going to let you get away with it. And I'm going to take my mirror, right, and want to use light to what is this ritual called? Subtract or carve? Yes, carve its ankles off and topple it.
Oh, the statue.
Mm-hmm.
You can have that for free. There's no immediate risk. Just describe what it looks like.
Yeah, well, I concentrate this light at the statue's ankles, and they melt, and it topples over, and and then I kind of think to myself, well, was that really a good use of my time? But does it react at all?
I feel like one of the other statues should make a quip at this point, right? Yeah, one of the statues like comes alive and says, "It's about time someone cut him down to size," and then goes back to being a statue.
Yeah, and then Sybil's like, oh, looks back around like, oh, wow, y'all were busy.
This tail is obscene. It is so big, and it's like a anaconda, like coiled up like on the ground. It will make your movement very slow, Sybil, and you might even need your companion's help to sort of like haul it around as you continue on.
Well, perhaps I will attempt the same task on the tail.
To cut the tail off.
Mm-hmm.
That I want to roll for.
Sure.
Jim, Drew, James, what could go wrong?
Well, I mean, cutting the tail off doesn't kill it. All it does is detach it from him. And then he can't control it. Sorry, they.
Yes.
I think he doesn't get it all the way, and then it splits and Hydra-like forms like multiple tails.
I'm not sure what's more horrifying, the bone golem or the situation. You all get to name that bone construct, by the way.
I quite like the lesser ambers.
They are the lesser embers, yeah.
I was thinking somewhat more or differently horrific. It is like very entwined with Sybil's biology at this point, and cutting off the tail is going to leave Sybil bleeding heavily.
Yeah.
or even starting to.
What do you think about for your skills, Sybil, or a piece of equipment? The mirror, I guess.
Yeah, the mirror and the carve ritual with ritual skill.
Yeah, the mirror is good enough for your first light die. Let's talk about Devil's Bargains. Something that will happen no matter what. Anybody have any offers?
Oh, I think no matter what, throughout the rest of the castle, he's going to be mocked by all the statues and paintings and stuff like that for having had this tale, whether they get rid of it or not.
I think no matter what. No, come back to me. I'm still thinking.
The tale's original owner will be very insulted that you have rejected its gift.
That's pretty good. I don't have anything better than that.
I think I like those ones too much. I don't think I have anything to offer beyond that.
Yeah, I like the original owner one. That's good. So I'll take it.
And don't we don't we have an active Devil's Bargain from of like the Amber who tends the forest, or did that get not accepted? I can't remember from before.
Yeah, we do. We had the
Oh, that's
Amber,
it.
and there's also another one that someone hitched to ride in my
Yes, we
gems.
I want to
so-
resolve that one especially, I think, but the Amber one we can deal with some other time. But I want to circle back to that though. Okay, great. So 2 light dice, take a dark die for the ritual, and so risk 2-1.
Nice, a 6 light.
Nice. What does the surgery look like?
Yeah, so I think I plop this tail up on like the remnants of the altar, and throw some, I have perfume, so I'll throw that in there too. Throw some from this perfume on it, and act, as a very in a religious manner, let's say,
Okay.
and you try to cut this tail off with the light.
So it's like a heat. You're like cauterizing the wound as you cut, right? Because it's like a heat thing. Yeah. Okay, that's interesting. Yeah, that's going on. The chapel fills up with the smell of charred meat, I suppose is one way of describing it. And there's also bones. Like, yeah, this whole thing has just become sort of a bizarre abattoir of body parts, flesh covered or otherwise. And you're good. I think I'd like to talk about the spirit that attached itself to you, Horrorghast. And I think I want to combine it with the Green Thumb Amber and say that it's a ghost of that amber that is with you now. This is the ghost of you've already met Isabel Amber, yes? Yeah, you have. This is the ghost of Mary Helen Amber. Horrorghast, what's your first sign that you are currently being haunted personally by the ghost of Mary Helen Amber?
I noticed that my arm is growing back, but it's growing back like in the shape, like slowly, like a woman's arm. Like
is it more plant-like or stone?
I think perhaps it's more, I don't know. Well, that sounds like something I'd like maybe put out to the others. What does what does it look like to them?
I think it looks like a delicate woman's arm.
But the jade still.
Yes, yeah, but
Okay.
it's like it's like slender and but with the like the soft patrician hands that have never worked a day in their life kind of thing, attached to your decrepit body.
And I have this horrible feeling when I hear this sort of giggling in my head that actually the arm is going to grow a new amber, not like it's going to basically like turn into a new like jade amber at some point.
Oh, so maybe it wants to be detached. So like maybe herewith the arm will do its best to get severed so that troll-like it can grow an amber anew. Is that the idea here?
Yeah, it's like a starfish limb or something, and
Right,
it wants to be separated so it can grow her new body.
You editorialize that condition however you want, but make that a condition, please. And very nice. Well, so Revel, what are you doing at this point?
I think Revel spent a bit of time just lying on the ground, looking up at the ceiling and discussing with himself how fast he's going to quit this when he gets home. And then he'll get up, see that Sybil is cutting his tail off, and turn to the others and just, I don't even know where to begin with that one. Can we move on, please? I don't like it here.
I don't like this place at all. And then the arm starts like flapping around and trying to reach for like a knife or reach for sharp implements from my backpack, and I have to like hold it down. Dr. Strangelove style.
Orlin, what are you doing right now?
I'm saying, don't be ridiculous. Something like that, it must have been guarding something, I say, as I stride across to where it burst from the altar and hop down into the pit that it came out of.
It's
to
just
see,
bones.
Yeah. Oh, I'm rooting around in there. I'm like a kid in a sandbox. I know there's a dinosaur here somewhere.
Do a hunt roll.
All right. And I'm using my shovel to kind of dig through and shove stuff aside. So I'm gonna go hunt 2. There's 6.
Nice. Take your token. You dig for a while, but you don't find anything. It's just bones after bones after bones, and it's unclear how deep it goes. You get like waist deep.
Yeah. Okay.
Decide.
Yeah. And
Okay.
I'm like, perhaps my theory is not holding up here.
But you have a token now, so. So I think Sybil, you finally get this thing detached. What are you going to do with it?
Well, does this meat smell edible?
No, don't eat the tail. You never have to worry about food in Trophy Gold. You always have enough rations in Trophy Gold. It is no. It is fundamentally alien meat. It doesn't. It's mostly just like cartilage, and it's just a little too smooth to the touch for.
Save it, Sybil. Perhaps we could feed it to one of the beasts that are here. It doesn't look appetizing as far as I'm concerned, but
yes, perhaps. But
who knows what lurks in that forest that we might be able to use it as a distraction for.
At this point, the glass, the amber stained glass, is starting to warp and bubble a little bit on the side that faces the indoor forest.
Okay, well, I'll pick up, one end of the tail and, well, I don't know. This seems kind of a lot to drag around. I'm assuming it's like 100 pounds or something.
It's a lot. Yeah, it slows down your movement, and indeed it might even take multiple people to carry. So
Leave it then.
That's very good. But I think this was all, you all went to a lot of trouble. I think we should get our worth out of this this whatever this is, and I'll go and look for like the priest's room. I don't know what it's
Okay.
called.
Yeah, like the priest quarters or the sacristy or something like that. That's usually in the like behind the main altar. So if you want to like head up, there's like 2 doors on either side there. If you want to go have a look at that. Horicus, did you want to continue looking at the loft?
I think what I'm going to do is have a seance with my arm and give it the tuning fork and say, if you show me where the amber light comes from, I will set you free.
That's a good justification for a hunt roll. We'll come back to that. And Revel, what shall you do now?
At mention of looking around again, Revel is already walking towards the closest door you can see. He's so done with this place.
West transept, east transept, or one of the doors past the altar in the north?
Let's go past the altar. He went up that way the first time for something.
All right. And Sybil, do I understand correctly? You're also going that way?
Yeah, we can go as a pair. That's fine.
Absolutely. And Orlin, what about you?
Seeing that they are going north, I will go to the west. And this is just like see if we can find anything to make this trip here worthwhile.
Absolutely. So let's start with that.
With mine?
Yes. Sorry,
Oh.
I'm reading the module. Sorry.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
So that door is a simple wooden door. It opens right up. And on the other side of it, there is hallway, a very narrow hallway with 3 more doors, spaced roughly evenly. What do you do?
Oh, just walk down to that one in the south and, give it a push. If it doesn't open, I just, snack my crowbar in between the door jamb and the door and just give it one of those.
Indeed. Give me a hunt roll, 2 dice.
Deuces.
You crack that door open, and inside it's a very sparsely furnished cell, for lack of a better word, a monastic cell, perhaps. There is a wooden slab in the middle of the room, atop which are 3 figures dressed in vibrant amber-colored robes. They rise up in unison. Their flesh is withered and gray, and you can see exposed bones and teeth. One of them has an eye hanging out, and they uncross their arms, and they just as they scramble towards you. Let's cut over to Revel and Sybil. You're not aware of any of that. Door on the left or door on the right?
Let's go right.
The door opens up. There's a hallway, narrow hallway. You can follow it until you get to 3 doors spaced roughly evenly along the walls. Sybil, what do you do?
Does any of them look fancier or like the handles worn?
I'll give you a hunt roll. Go for it.
Three.
You will notice that the doors all seem they're just plain wooden doors. There's nothing to indicate like which one's been used more or anything like that. You will encounter something terrible, however. And the terrible thing you encounter is on the far end, on the western side, on the map it's labeled 27, that room. You hear in unison a number of voices, 8, 10, maybe 12 voices begin to chant. Horagest, let's have a hunt roll first and see how your seance goes.
All right. Can I go 2 dice for that?
Sure, yeah, I'm into it.
I got a 4.
Take your token. The arm can only communicate with pointing, but it points at the door. No, it points directly below you. Now, whether it's answering your question or not, who knows? But you are standing right on the map where it says 25. That's where you're standing, kind of just at the sort of southern sort of entrance to the western transept. And it points down to the ground, like there's something beneath your feet. And at that point, you hear scratching coming from beneath the wooden tile. Three potentially horrible things going on. Let's take a 5-minute break and we'll come back to it. Orlin, these 3 undead creatures wearing amber-colored monastic robes rise up from the wooden slab on the ground and are coming towards you. You can hear the cell doors down the hall flying open as well as flying open directly across on the other transept, where there are more of them coming out. In short order, the whole chapel is going to be filled by at least 18 of these creatures. Orlin, what are you doing right now?
I say, gentlemen, please forgive my intrusion. And then I am beat feeding back out the way I came.
You can see them coming out
Yep.
of the other way. Horagest, they're closest to you, the ones that are coming out from the other monastic cells. Coming out, staggering out, reaching, grasping, and we'll come back to this moment. Revel and Sybil, you don't hear any of this. You're in this little narrow hallway. All you hear is just the chanting coming from that room. Revel, what do you do?
That's the room at the left end of the hallway, 27.
Indeed, yep.
He's going to walk forward and open, I think that's, must be 29,
I
the
think you're
middle
right.
door.
Yeah, I think you're right. It opens up. The room at a glance appears to be a storage area for typical clerical items. Brass censers for incense, robes, things like that, right? Kind of on shelves. The most interesting aspect of the room is that there are 4 holes in the ceiling. They're about 1 foot in diameter. 1, 2, 3, 4 on the ceiling. And the ceiling is actually pretty low in this room. It probably comes down to about a little above your head. You could probably reach into the hole, any of the holes.
Well, that seems like a terrible idea. Revel is going to reach into the hole.
Ah, very good. Number 1, number 2, number 3, or number 4?
Let's go the furthest from 27.
We'll say that's number 4. Sybil, what are you doing in the meantime?
Can we hear the chant? Is the chanting louder from any of these holes?
No, you can hear it coming from the next room, but no.
Okay. And then I'll just go up to each one and take a sniff,
Very good. Give me a hunt roll first, Sybil.
Four.
Take your token. If you're just smelling holes, the 3 of them there's no particular smell. It's just more the same musty, dusty smell that the whole chapel has. The 4th hole, the one that Revel is reaching up into, has a distinct smell of like how like a nest, like a bird, like if you have a bird, like the smell of like a bird, like in a bird cage, like a filthy kind of, it's the most disgusting smell to me, like a filthy bird smell coming from that hole.
Oh, look at Revel. Like, are you sure you want to go there?
Well, if history has shown us anything, it doesn't matter whether I put my hand in it or just look at it too hard. If there's something in there, it's going to explode and try to eat me anyway.
The thing about putting your hand up in the hole is it must go further because you can't reach anything. You just feel the sides of the hole. It must go up more unless you have some way of reaching further in. It just seems like nothing.
So these, like, do they just go vertically up?
Yep.
Or okay.
I'm wondering if there's a way we can use the space up there to peer into the next room and see what's going on in there.
They're very small
And
holes.
I think, oh,
yeah, they're very narrow.
small. Okay.
Yeah.
So there's just church supplies or chapel supply in here. Is there any like anything he can use as is there like a wire coat hanger or something he can?
Oh, like just something to poke up with? Yeah. I think that's absolutely. There's like a broom.
Yeah, he'll take the broom and try and angle it into the hole and see if he can sweep anything out.
Of the 4th hole.
Yes.
You put the broom up and you're poking around and you do hit something. and then something falls boom, out of the hole. It looks like a rooster, but it's like a rooster with like a lizard-like tail, and it is trying to right itself because you just like knocked it out and dropped it. We'll come back to this. Orlin and Horagest, the main chapel is filling up quickly with these undead creatures wearing the monk robes. They are on either side, closing in. And Horagest, you hear scratching coming from below your feet. Wild, crazy scratching. Horagest, what do you do?
I turn to the arm and say, if you've betrayed me, I will smash you to pieces before I go down. I'll take you with me. You better be right about this. And then I get my staff and I like lever open the floorboards.
Yes, you can do that. By the time is the moment you crack it just enough, something forces its way out. It is a woman. She is covered in filth and dust and dirt. Her hair is all matted and crazy. Her dress is completely like just moldy and holes, and just torn up and shredded, right? And she clamours out, I'm free, I'm free, I'm free. And then she looks around and she says, damnable monks, I shall have my revenge on you. And she like flies towards some of these undead monks. They are now at this point fully ready to take you all on. She's ready to take them on. What are you doing, Orlin?
I say, yes, exactly. And it is we who have freed you. Have at it, good lady. And
meanwhile, monks are grabbing and clawing and lurching towards you.
Yeah, so I think I'm going to the extent that I can, shove my way towards that one of those staircases and, get myself 8-10 steps up it. And I've got my shovel and I'm just, wailing on them as they come at me, because they can only come at me 1 or 2 at a time. And I've got the advantage of higher ground.
Yeah, good plan. I love it. Okay. This, to defeat all of these, it's a lot. To defeat all of these is going to be 12. You do get an extra die for this woman who might be an amber. It's unclear, but she's just like grabbing them with her bare ass hands and like pulling their faces and heads off, right? Like as best she can. Say how you're vulnerable and roll a weak die, please.
I mean, I'm vulnerable because if one of them manages to grab my ankle, they're going to haul me down the stairs into the mass of them. I mean, I've only got high ground as long as I actually have high ground, and it's I have high ground, but I'm fighting on stairs, which is not the easiest thing to do. So yeah.
How are you vulnerable, Horagest?
I'm still conferring with Mary Helen about whether now I should still be jumping down the hole, whether that's where we're going, or whether we should be wailing on the monks as well.
It looks like it's just like a fairly shallow pit where this other woman was buried.
All right. Well, that was my weak point, that it took me a while to sort
figure
of
that out.
come to an agreement with Mary Helen that we were both going to fight the monks in order to.
Yeah, the arm is pointing at the other woman who's like going ham on the undead.
Yeah, but that's my weak point. My ongoing dialogue with Mary Helen.
Mary Helen Amber. That's good. Roll a week. All right, you get an extra die for this woman who is also fighting with you, and so that's a combat 3. Take it away, Orlin. That is not enough, but it's 2 hits on Horagest. So Horagest, let's Let's get this narration going.
Well, I think while I'm basically like arguing with Mary Helen and it's like slapping the arm and she's pointing at the other woman and like saying, and then we're like, right, we're both in this together. And the Mary Helen arm goes like, and shows that she's ready to fight. And I grab, the Horrorgus grabs the staff and the Mary Helen arm starts like flailing around and we jump in. But basically we kind of get raked at with a bunch of withered claws, and I think what happens is that it essentially where is it it completely destroys my protective like gloves, all my equipment that was like protecting my geomancy, and basically I'm just wearing like tattered robes now. Like it's really basically I've got none of my equipment left. It's all just been like shredded.
I will say at this point, Revel and Sybil, you hear the commotion from the main sept. You have your own little issue to deal with right here. But we'll come back to that. Orlin, give us some narration of the combat.
Yeah, I think this is like maybe I kind of, you know, like brain one or two of them. But this is the thing where like I'm having to kind of slowly go back up the stairs as they're kind of pushing towards me. And I'm, you know, like it's mostly a stalemate, but like I said, that when there's this many of them, even if I do take a couple of them out, it's only making a dent in the main force. And I'm hollering at the top of my lungs, Revel, Sybil, now is the time to join us.
Revel and Sybil. This rooster with a lizard tail has fallen out of the hole. It is trying to right itself, so you have a moment. Sybil, what do you do?
Well, I'll look at Revel and it's like, well, I think, you know, I'll like whisper, like, I think we need to interrupt what's going on in there, right? Doesn't sound good.
Would Revel have any reason to think it's a cockatrice, or will cockatrice be a concept?
No, I mean, no, this is going to be, I mean, it's out of character, it is a cockatrice, but in character, you're going to name this for your bestiary. So,
Okay.
So it is a rooster with a lizard-like tail currently.
With his history with bird-shaped things, this is a supply room. Can he grab a box, dump it, and just drop the box over it real quick?
Oh, yeah. I like that. I think it'll just slow it down if you just want to like get out of there. I think that's fine.
Yes.
You can have that for free. The thing might be
That's
a
what it
problem
is.
later, but yeah.
Drops a box on it and says, yeah, right, that's we should, yes, go.
So it's flailing around underneath the crate that you dropped on it, and you're all, I assume, joining the others. Is that fair to say?
That's Revel's plan, at least.
Sybil?
I think yeah, if Revel is making to not interrupt this you know, ritual, then I'll go with, because I don't want to do it alone.
You get out to the main sept and you just see it, it's just covered. I mean, there's like 20 maybe or more of these decayed, you know, people with their flesh sloughing off and their bones popping out, groaning and moaning, wearing these amber colored monastic robes. Some of them are going upstairs. You see Orlin batting them away. Classic zombie scene, right? Zombie movie scene. You see Horrorgus trying to, like, you know, right himself and get figure, and his gloves are being torn off by these creatures. Say how you're vulnerable and roll your weak point, please. Revel and Sybil.
I think I'm vulnerable. I'm sticking in like the doorway we just came out of, right? As a choke point. But I'm not really paying attention to anything behind me.
And your weak point is 4.
Yep.
Revel only has his dagger, so no matter what he does, he's getting in close. So
that's a problem. Yeah. and yours is 2. Fantastic. What are our weak points? Are 3, 2, 4, and 2. Okay, 2 is bad. No 2s. Let's have at it, folks. Combat 6. Horrorghast, take it away. You are just shy. It's 11. You need a 12.
No.
A 2 did come up. So did a 4. And so did a. Is 3 one of them? Somebody have 3? That's a weak point. Yeah. Hits all around. Let's describe it. Horrorghast, kick it off.
I think Horrorghast takes some really deep rents in his body. And I think that it turns out his curse has progressed to the point where instead of bleeding blood, he starts to bleed this kind of liquid jade and ruby and things out of his wounds, and he starts coughing, and diamond spittle kind of comes out of his mouth as he continues to flail about.
And did you take a hit then, or are you?
I have no armor left because I decided that my attunement was more fun than having more armor, so which I regret now.
So what's your ruin up to?
4, so I'm not like terrible yet.
All right. Just trying to keep track of it all here. Keep it going, Orlin.
Yeah, and I think this is the thing where, like I said, one of them manages to get a, desiccated bony hand around one of my ankles and just pulls it out from under me. And now I'm like on my ass on the, on the stairs, just frantically, no more finesse, just frantically swinging with the shovel. It's bouncing off the walls and stuff as they're trying to, drag me down towards them where they can, get a bunch of them on me and rip me apart.
And did your ruin go up?
Sure did, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Revel, join the fight.
Revel just moves forward with the pointy end of his dagger and is immediately met by a zombie coming from the side and just clamping its teeth down on his arm. And his amulet of preservation flares. He takes no ruin, but he shakes his arm frantically to try and free it.
Sybil, join the fray.
Yeah, I think I'm, slinging stones at these undead, and in the chaos, like some undead limb flies, and it's going to latch on and claw at me, but I block it with my silver bracers.
At this point, you all may want to individually make a calculation about whether you're staying in this combat or not. 2 ruin can happen really fast on 7 dice. If you wish to abandon the combat, you give your weak point to another player of your choice. I shall ask you each in turn. Horrorghast, are you continuing in the combat?
I think Horrorghast is going where he's going to ask Mary Helen whether is it like, do we run away? And he holds up his staff to the arm. He says, "If I die, you die with me. I'll smash you to pieces." What do we do?
Mary Helen wants you to get the woman that came out, who is, by the way, like, she's also like just flailing and like a wildcat, like just tearing at these things. Mary Helen keeps pointing at her like she is the key.
So I'm gonna literally grab her and then run. Like I'm gonna and then try and shout at the others to get out, and then maybe suggest as we run we spend our 3 tokens to get the key.
Who are you giving your weak point to?
I think it's gonna have to be. I don't actually know. Fictionally, who do we think? Yeah.
You can be strategic, like who can take the hits the most.
I think I'm going to have to be strategic and give it to Revel, yeah.
So Revel, what does that put your weak points at now?
Horrorghast is
need
2.
a new one. Yep, I'll need to roll a new second
roll
one.
another one. Yeah.
5 and 2.
Woof. Orlin, are you staying in the fight?
No, I'm out of here.
Who are you giving your weak point to? Revel or Sybil?
I'm gonna give it to Sybil.
Sybil,
and-
what's it?
And I think this looks like I am going to, turn tail, bolt up the stairs as they come after me,
Mhm.
Bolt across and, thunder down the other stairs, kind of leading them in a chase, but, like only so many of them can come after me. So they'll turn and probably turn and go after Sybil.
Sybil. So what is that? What are the weak points now, Sybil?
So I had 4, and now I guess I get 3 also. Is that right?
4 and 3, 5 and 2. Sybil, are you staying in the fight?
So how many ruin can I get? Worst case?
5 is the most you can go up to. If you get 6, you're dead.
What? Right, but on the roll, like I can
as many as come up on the dice. I mean, we're gonna roll 7 dark dice, and you've got 2 numbers in play. So
okay, and if there's like 2 4s, does that count
that's
for 2?
2 ruin. Yep.
Okay.
But if you have a piece of armor, it wipes all of it out. So
Unfortunately, there's no armor.
it's a tough call. Do either of you have armor?
I don't think anyone has armor.
I have 1 left.
You have 1 left, so you could give it to Revel, because Revel can do 1 roll and negate all the ruin once, right? But
yeah, I mean, should we
stay in the fight?
Would that be smart?
Revel's not here for smart.
So if you give it to Revel, Revel will now have 4 dice of ruin, which means it's going to be a huge amount of ruin he's going to take. But an armor wipes out all of it. So he can do the roll safely as long as he has an armor. But maybe just 1 roll if you don't win.
Right. Yeah, let's do it, and or I'll give him away, and we'll see if we can get out after this.
5, 4, 3, 2. 7 gold dice. Take it away, Revel. Looking for 12. Or 7 combat dice, rather. Sorry.
Really? 11.
Not enough. And a bunch of hits. I assume you're going to mark your armor.
Oh, yes.
And
Run
now
away, Revel.
now it's
Run
just a risk roll to escape. So that's the best you can hope for, is try to escape, unless you want to go again. But
I don't think that's a guaranteed death. I'm pretty.
Before you all run out of the chapel, are you going to spend 3 hunt roll tokens to complete the set goal, or are you going to?
I'm game. I'm game if everyone else is.
Sure.
You will get the key. We'll talk about that in a moment.
So
Revel.
so that means me, Horagast, and Sybil each spend 1, right?
Okay. So yeah. So
Because Revel's got none left.
Yeah. This is an escape risk roll. There's only 1 consequence for failure. You're swarmed by these creatures, and that is probably going to be the end of you, regardless of the ruin. Don't fail. Or I'll make you do another combat, which will probably kill you, right? Dice. Do you have any relevant skills?
Paths to fight his way out.
I love it. That's perfect. You got 1 light die. Devil's bargains from your cohorts and myself, who has an offer.
I think no matter what, you're sort of scratched up really heavily, and the scratches have a weirdly ambery, like the claws have left a trace on you.
That's pretty nice.
Yeah. Let's see. Perhaps the flames in the indoor forest have made it very treacherous territory.
I think that's true, whether that bargain is taken or not.
Okay,
right?
well, maybe we're
I-
more exposed, or or
yeah,
something.
I will say for my offer, basically the chapel shut off to you at this point. It's overrun. So no matter what.
I will take the chapel being closed
can-
off, especially if you got the sickle.
Do I get to offer one?
Oh, please do.
I'm sorry.
You cut a dashing figure, and whether you succeed in escaping or not, this a woman that was buried beneath the floorboards, who is ripping these zombies apart, takes quite a fancy to you.
Which do you
I'll
want to
take
do,
that
Rebel?
one.
Okay. 2 light, 1 dark. Go for it.
That's a 5.
You can still reroll.
Yeah, the complication is going to be that you basically can't dawdle in the forest. I mean, the fire will probably prevent that anyway, but also the monastic undead creatures might be pouring out of the chapel as well. You have to just make haste. If you don't want to deal with them pouring out of the chapel, you can add dark die.
Oh boy. Oh, the worst that could happen is I get a ruin, right?
The worst that could happen is you could fail.
That's actually the worst that could happen is you can fail the die roll.
Let's be clear,
That's
it is a reroll. You're not adding a die.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, you're adding a die,
I'll
but then
stick
you're
with the 5.
re-rolling.
I'll stick with the 5.
You're going to escape. You all are going to have to basically hustle away from this place. The forest is pretty well, almost entirely on fire at this point. There's like slags of molten glass dripping down onto the ground from above as the heat melts it away. There are all manner of like creatures that are like run from the fire, right? The dragon is just majestically, wings outstretched, roaring its dominance, sort of declaring its dominance over the scene. But you're going to escape. Describe that, and also describe grabbing the silver key from around the neck of one of the undead creatures.
Revel, seeing all of his companions making their way out, he kind of just takes 1 second, holding the dagger up in the teeth of an approaching zombie, and kind of calculates a path out, and then is just ducking and weaving and kind of like a baseball person throwing themselves onto a baseball thing, sliding on the floor between 2 legs. And I'm a real sports guy, you may have picked up on that. And just manages to squeak out the door. And as he's going, one of them reaches out and grabs his arm, and he turns and just kind of flails, and his hand actually gets caught in the chain around its neck. And so he doesn't even notice when he yanks and the key comes with him. He's just in such a state, his hands clasped it, he's running out, and then I did it.
Meanwhile, as I've described, the forest is on fire. There is molten glass dripping down like rain. The dragon is roaring loudly. The way to the east is clear. Are you all running towards the east? We shall put you there. If you run Fortunately, the fire actually makes accomplishing this set goal easier in a weird way, because you don't have to deal with any of the dangers, right? Because everything is too busy trying not to burn alive. And so the set goal of the Inner Forest, which is to reach the bloodstained arch safely, you managed to do that. And that is over on the far east side. Let me tell you what it sort of looks like. That path ends in a 10-foot wide door in the eastern wall of the Inner Forest. 3 massive stones form an archway over the path in front of the door. It appears as if the only way to get to the door is to pass beneath this dolmen arch. A steady patter of blood drips from the underside of the arch, and it looks extremely difficult to pass under the arch without becoming blood spattered. What, Orlin, what do you do?
I think this is pretty easy. I take my shovel and I hook that bucket over the end of it, and I hold it up over where the blood is coming, and I say, "Quickly, my friends," while the blood is dropping into the bucket.
Perfect. Does everybody run under the arch, under the bucket?
Yep.
As this is
Revel
happening,
didn't need an invitation.
as this is happening, the woman, she says, basically, miss me with your bucket. She says, no. And she like slaps the bucket away. And she says, I will bathe in the blood of the Amber family, and I will let it stir within me that desire, that most base, that most primal of desires. And she steps under the arch, letting the blood drip, drip, drip all over her. And then she looks at you, Revel, and she says, you have the look. You have the look of one who has seen great horror. One who is just barely beyond, who's just barely on the other side of the threshold that leads to the realm of death. Come. Let the blood touch you. And she beckons you to join her under the arch.
I think I've been covered with more than my fair share of dead ambers at this point, my lady. But you, by all means.
She says, very well. And she's like smearing it on her face, on her forehead, on her neck. And she says, now we are ready. I never thanked you for saving me, she says to you, Horrorghast. And I have every intention of returning to the chapel someday to take my revenge on the Ambers who put me there. How did you know I was down there?
My arm told me. I believe that it is a ghost of your family, and so far the arm has not steered me wrong.
Even though it is crafted of jade, I recognize its shape, its delicate shape. And she begins like grabbing and sort of stroking the arm, smearing it with blood. And she says, I recognize these fingers. These are the hands. These are the fingers, the hand of my sister, Mary Ellen Amber. How wonderful. I knew it was Mary Ellen who would save me in the end. And I was right. I'm here. I've returned to you. Your sweet Madeline is here, Mary Ellen. Sisters reunited. And she's like embracing and holding your arm to her chest.
I have excellent news for you. I believe through the power of geomancy, should I sever this arm, you will be reunited with your sister in vitreous form. However, first you must do me a favor. Tell me about the amber light. I must heal my condition.
At this point, the fire is creeping up. I think you all need to go inside. Does everybody go inside the door?
Yes. Madam, you'll forgive us if we continue this conversation away from the flames.
Indeed. And as you step inside, Madeline Amber goes, "What a pity. Mary Ellen did so love the inner forest. She, more than any other Amber, took care of it, tended to it. Oh, the madness of this place. It will consume us all eventually." And she turns, holding your hand, Horagust, Mary Helen's hand, as you go inside. That feels like a good place to take a break. Let's take 5. You step inside what appears to be a grand throne room. The walls of this room are covered with mosaics depicting courtly scenes. The floor is a highly polished marble. 2 thrones sit atop a raised dais. The whole room is lit with candles and torches in the walls. At the east end of the room, a red velvet carpet runs from the double doors to the thrones. There's a skeletal figure sitting on each throne. The skeletons are dressed in rotting velvet. One skeleton is holding a jeweled mace that looks like it's worth a lot of money. The other is wearing like a sort of silver diadem around the skull. There are 20 more skeletons standing on guard, 10 each along the north and south walls. These guard skeletons wear rusted armor and carry halberds with rusted blades. Another dozen skeletons wearing decayed court dress stand in front of the thrones. There are 30, 40 skeletons in this room, a scene of a courtly, sort of courtly scene. They're all perfectly still, though. There's dim candlelight illuminating the space, and these silent, moldering skeletons in the room. And Madeline Amber says to you, Horagust, "The amber light, that is from my father, Prince Stephen Amber. If he has used that power on you, that means he intends for you to find him." And she's speaking in a very low voice. He intends for you to find him. And he will help you find him. The amber light is how he will help you. Prince Stephen should be the rightful ruler of this province. And this castle should be his royal seat. But it is not, because of the usurpers. And here she indicates the 2 skeletons sitting on the thrones. The usurpers, King Henry and Queen Catherine Amber. Our uncle and aunt. And never a more wretched pair of ambers did the gods ever make. But to find my father, that is a trickier matter. There is a gate that will lead you out of the castle, that will lead you to the province. The province which I have to remember the name of. The province of Avaroin. And there, somewhere in the province of Avaroin, will be my father. Dead in a crypt, but hidden safely from Henry and Catherine. And I suspect, well, that may also be the secret to you escaping this place for good. But the gate, first you must find the gate. The gate is beneath the house, but it can only be opened with 3 silver keys. Finding the 3 silver keys is the first step. And you have a new set goal here. The East Wing set goal is learn how to escape the province of Avaroin. And so she is being very careful to be quiet so as not to stir the court. Horagest, how do you respond? Or let's just have the scene with all of you presumably being very quiet as you've just stepped into the throne room.
I think Horagest will whisper to the arm and to is it Madeline? Did you say? Yeah.
Madeline,
yeah. Say, well, I promise you that I will restore the prince to his rightful throne as long as you bestow on me the blessings of the Amber Light so that I may heal my affliction and grow a new arm. And in exchange, I will separate your sister from my torso, and she may grow a wonderful new gem-like body from pure jade.
Revel, Sybil, and Orlin, what are you all doing? While Horagest works out a deal with the Amber sisters.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I think Sybil is just like, this is too much. What immediate problem can I solve? Because I don't want to think about the big ones. It's like, well, there's a door over there. There's a door to the south. Which one do we go to?
Indeed, there's a door on the southern wall. There's a pair of double doors at the end of the Velvet Runner, and you are like actually sort of behind the throne, right? You're kind of situated behind it.
So we have 2 silver keys.
You have 2.
He'll kind of sidle up to Madeline and put on his most charming smile and say, "My lady, do you have any knowledge of where we might find one of these silver keys?"
Well, for you, brave sir, I might know something. We have to get below the house, below the castle. That is where the gate can be found, and I suspect there's a key down there as well. Although I don't know for sure. I recall that there was a key in the West Wing, there was a key in the chapel, and there's a key in the dungeon. I don't know exactly where. I fear going back to the West Wing or the chapel might be a bit of a problem, though.
Fortunately, we've already done that. And Hargrave points to the 2 keys and says, "So, to the dungeon, and to my healing, and to our eventual escape."
Not so fast, my friend. Madam, this tableau we see spread before us, is this merely representational, or is there some sort of, is this something playing out right now? Are they as dead as they appear, or as with other aspects of the castle, is there more to this than one might presume at first glance?
Make a hunt roll.
Okay. And this is, I think this is my masking thing where I'm trying to talk to her like as a noble and, and appeal to her, like basically to her, she seems to know what's going on and I'm trying to kind of flatter her with that. So, all right. That's 5.
Take your token, she says. In truth, sir, I do not know. They were flesh when they buried me in the chapel. When they ordered me buried in the chapel. That was many years ago. This could be, as you say, merely a grisly tableau. Or they could be standing there, waiting to see what we do.
I only ask because, madam, you claim that crown that he holds was usurped, and there it is. You can pluck it from his hands right now.
I am no fool. I know it is not my place to snatch the crown. It is for my father, should he choose to return to this mortal coil.
Fair enough. To the dungeon then, my friends?
Hooray, the dungeon.
I would rather not. I would rather these skeletons remain in repose.
Once we know a way out of here, I am stealing that mace.
I feel like Mary Helen's arm is probably pointing in the direction that, like that implies like downwards again.
Yeah. So what are you all doing? I mean, right now Madeline may be right. The skeletons might be totally aware of you and they're just not doing anything yet.
I'll reach out with my telepathy to see what they're thinking.
I will tell you for free, they are 100% sentient and they are aware of you. And I think they are all on tenterhooks waiting to see what you all do.
Yeah, I will, look to the others and like, oh yeah, they know.
I will tell you that one of them, the Queen Catherine perhaps, she's very focused on making sure you don't find the treasure hidden beneath her throne.
Tempting. I'll keep that to myself.
Could we lure the dragon in here from the? No, man, she's probably too big to fit through the doorway.
The dragon might have escaped by now through the melted dome, because the fog doesn't go overhead. It only goes on the sides.
Can I maybe reach out with my my geomancy and see if I can detect any sort of features to this room that might help us distract the skeletons, so that we can rush through?
Oh, interesting. Yeah, take a hunt roll. Go for it.
Yeah, and I'll use my attunement as part of that. Maybe just Mary Helen will help me a little bit if I ask nicely. I got a 5.
Take your token. The ceiling. There is a great eave or arch, say, like an eave, structure of the ceiling up above, though, that looks weak. If you could bring it down on top of these skeletons, that would definitely give you the distraction you're looking for.
I look up and I say to the others, how about I convince the mortar between the stones not to attach to the stones, and that will cause the distraction we sorely need.
Do we really need a distraction?
Do you want to walk into a throne room full of skeletons that are staring at us? It's not a safe situation.
They are already staring at us. They are aware that we are here. Whatever ritual you begin to enact, they will surely fall upon us before it can be completed.
Well, the roof will fall on them before they can fall upon us.
The roof will fall upon us.
So why don't you keep it ready, and we'll use it if we need to.
Do we recognize any of these people from the feast before?
I mean, no, because they're all like skeletal. So,
Okay.
Yeah.
But like there's not anybody particularly ostentatiously dressed who we remember as being specifically sitting next to us or anything.
Not in this dim light. I don't think you'd be able to
Got it.
suss that
Okay.
out. Yeah.
All right. Well, we need to go to the dungeon, unless I'm mistaken.
I have a question. I have the ability or the ritual feather, which is to reduce the density of an object. I've used that in the past to make things float, but could I use that to like Kitty Pryde us through the floor?
Oh my, like to sort of make yourself incorporeal?
Insubstantial.
Make the floor that we're currently standing on, reduce its density to the point where we can pass through it.
Oh, so you fall through it.
Yeah.
That's an intriguing idea. I like it. Sounds dangerous, but I like it because you don't know where you're going to end up. But
well, if we can find where the dungeon is, we may not need to find a door.
It would be a way of shortcutting the process, yeah.
And I could think of ways I could help, with geomancy if you need an extra dice as well.
So he'll say to Madeline, and the dungeon is beneath us now?
It is beneath our feet, yes.
I think I can get us there very quickly.
I like it. If everyone agrees with this plan of action, you're also welcome to go across the throne room as well, whatever you want to do. But yeah, it certainly won't stop you from doing this role regardless of what everybody else wants to do. So what could go wrong? gang.
Besides
I think the
getting stuck in midway in the floor.
I think maybe the floor becomes like spongy and porous and actually like goes like doesn't return to its previous consistency.
I mean, reducing the density of it makes it transparent so that anywhere where, they'll be able to see from the throne room where we are and what we're doing and continue to observe us, like it's a glass ceiling as we go about our business.
Indeed. I just like the idea of maybe like you just shouldn't mess with physics like this, and like you either become stuck or you become like turned inside out or something, some crazy, just something badly misfires, right? And it causes horrifying physics outcomes. Let's talk about your dice, Revel. What do you think?
I have rituals.
And Devil's Bargains. Who has a Devil's Bargain to offer?
I think regardless of whether this works or not, because it's Revel who's doing the density manipulation, he won't be able to pick anything up for a little while.
I think no matter. So go ahead.
Maybe there are so many things melting from the other room, like melted stone, melted glass. It starts flowing into the hole, or whatever.
I think no matter what, like the floor randomly, there's like a sort of randomized effect where skeleton soldiers keep falling through the floor and we have to run away from them inside the dungeon.
It's pretty good. I like those three options, so choose from those, Drew.
I think I'll go with Revel being a little having a case of intangibility for a little bit.
Nice. 2 light dice and do the dark die for the ritual.
Six dark.
Ruin goes up, but a full success. Describe it. What does it look like?
So I think he'll explain that he's been considering a new use of this ritual, and he'll crouch down and put his hand on the floor and kind of close his eyes as the tattoos on his throat start to glow. And then he'll kind of whistle between his teeth, and when he does, the ground kind of ripples and we all start just slowly at first, but then just passing through it like it's not there.
Yeah. Is everybody going down?
I think Horrorguest is cackling and saying, "This is very creative geomancy, Revel. I admire it."
Indeed, indeed. Give me a moment to get the map of the dungeon ready for you. Does anyone know how to rotate an image on this. Ah, there we go. Where are we dropping you? Let's see. Give me one moment. Yeah. You all are dropped right in front of the door in chamber 46, where all those words are written on the squares. You are kind of just on the on the left-hand side of that room, basically. And let me describe that room for you. That is roughly where you would be based off the geometry of the of the place.
So we're in that room labeled 47 right now.
You are in, it's labeled 46. You're in the room with the letters, just on the.
Oh, we're actually in it. Okay.
You're in it. Oh yeah, yeah. Let me read that to you. It's the initial entry here. A large square grid has been painted on the floor in the middle of this room. The grid is 5 10 by 10 squares long and wide, a total of 25 squares. A huge capital letter has been painted in the middle of each square. There is a door on the other side of the room, but to reach it, you must step on several of the painted squares. Now, where that door goes, I don't know. Out of character, you can see that it goes somewhere away from the dungeon. So that's up to you whether you want to try to cross it or not. It just happens to be where you were dropped. So.
Oh, good. More symbols on the floor.
Madeline has not gone with you. She is not into going into subterranean places right now. It is a thing she's not into at the moment. So she says she will meet you on the way back. There's also a new sequel in the dungeon, which is to find a silver key.
This probably makes me a crushing bore, but we do actually have enough tokens to just solve this straight up.
Yeah, I could also try to solve it with a ritual.
Well, the question is, where are you going to go? I mean, you have dropped into the middle of this dungeon, right? And you might be on the right side, right? For all you know. Or maybe not. maybe the other side goes out. It's unclear. All you know is there's a door behind you. There's a door on the other side. And there's letters in between.
So to confirm, the door behind us is the one that goes off to the east, right?
The one behind you goes into 47 to the west.
Oh, okay, sorry, yeah, I go back to front, yeah. Can we inspect the door on the opposite side and see if it has like 3 silver keyholes in it?
Take a hunt roll.
Okay. I can't actually think of a reasonable case for let me just think about this. Why I would have any, I suppose no, construction, I suppose, that no, that's very tenuous. I think it's gonna have to be a 1 dice hunt roll.
Go for it.
Oh, I got a 6, so that paid off.
Nice. Take your token. No, it's just it's an iron door, but there aren't multiple keyholes or anything like that. It's not a gate. It was described as a gate.
So I propose it's an entrance rather than the exit. So I think we might be on the right side of it.
All right, then I'll inspect the door to the west then. We're near that one, right?
Yeah, you're right by that one. It is another iron door. It appears open.
Revel will reach for the handle and just his hand will pass through and he'll just groan and say, of course.
Are you all going through?
Yeah, just pull it open and walk through. Yeah.
That leads to these are the actual dungeon cells. You see 4 dungeon cells. The back and side walls of each cell are made of stone. The front wall is a grid of iron bars. In one cell, you see a long-haired man holding a paintbrush and a bucket of paint. He is huddled in the corner of the room, staring rapturously at a highly realistic painting of the moon on the back wall of his cell. In another cell, you see a large man with the head of a bull. The other 2 cells appear to be empty.
Revel will kind of wryly say, oh, look, we found a Gino.
Wouldn't that be something if you did?
Yeah.
Sybil, what do you do?
Well, I'll ask one of your companions, I take it.
A Gino, one of our companions?
That's what
Right.
that's what they were asking. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's not getting the reference. So.
Oh, we aren't that lucky. Or unlucky, depending on who you ask, I suppose. Anyway, you there with the paint. Why are you here?
He turns and he says, "Ah, visitors. It's been so long since anyone has come down here to see me. Who sent you? Was it Stephen or Henry?"
Well, not Henry.
He says, "I am Gaston Amber. I'm so happy to make your acquaintance."
Likewise, Gaston.
Would you
Are you-
like to come inside and paint with me?
Perhaps one of my friends would be interested. I seem to be a little incapacitated.
Well, what a delight. 4 visitors in one day. And it's been decades since the last time someone came down here. I would love to share my artistic expression with one of you.
Could you paint us a map of where the Gate of 3 Keys is? I'm sure you could do a very accurate artistic representation of this dungeon from your memory.
He says, "Oh, you don't want to leave the house though, do you?"
We merely
We
want to ensure that the person sitting on the throne is the person best suited for it.
Ah, The old conflict between Henry and Stephen. So who are you pulling for then?
Who are you pulling for?
I asked you first.
You did. We're still on the fence.
Playing hard to get. I suppose one of them is trying to win you over to their side. You're like the prettiest girl at the ball.
Well, yes, but we have not actually spoken to either.
Well, I have to get back to my painting. And he turns and he goes back to working on his mural.
Revel will kind of walk through the bars and stand next to him and say, and what is it we're painting?
Well, and he says, this is the moon that hangs in the sky over Avignon. The word's very hard. Avignon. Have you seen it? Do you know it?
We haven't had the pleasure.
All we have seen outside is a mist, cloying, toxic, that prevents us from stepping more than a few feet from the doors of this place. No, we have not seen the moon, nor have we seen the sun, nor the stars, nor anything but a blank gray void that extends seemingly to the very edge of this castle.
Yes, that happens from time to time. Averoigne is, how do we say, unstuck. That tends to happen when your entire family is mages and everyone having their own little particular area of expertise. Things get a little discombobulated, as you might imagine. It is unfortunate.
Well, I will not hesitate to say that if only in the name of chaos and recompense for the inconvenience that we have been faced with, I would happily depose whoever it is that sits on the throne up there.
Ah, very good. Well, the first step, of course, is finding the gate.
I assume that's who has imprisoned you here.
Oh, no. I choose to be here of my own accord.
And your friend across the hall, was he brought here against his will as we were?
Oh, no. We're both here because we want to be here. You see, we're in a terrible danger. We are safer here. We can't hurt anyone here.
Well, we'll keep that in mind.
Revel will slowly back out of the cell.
Indeed. He goes back. The Minotaur is just standing there, the bull-headed man, just right up to the bars, snorting.
Is it true what he says, my friend? Are you a danger to all concerned?
It says nothing.
All right.
There's a door at the end of the hall.
I'm going to ask Mary Helen to give us a tip again about which direction to go. I'm going to say, point, Mary Helen, point to the gate, and give her the tuning fork again.
She points to the door that is at the end of the hall, the cells.
Mary Helen says we should go through the door.
Do you have any advice for us, sir, as we search for the gate?
He says, well, you can't get out unless you have a key 2 keys, maybe more than 2. Keys. You need the keys, or you can't leave.
One of your cousins has shared with us at least that much.
Ah, splendid. Keys, very important.
Very well.
Keys, open things, lock things, close things, seal them up.
Well, we shall leave you to your pigments, sir.
And he goes back, he starts humming a little tune as he continues to paint the moon.
Before we go, I'm going to ask him if I can borrow some of his paints and say, we have been acquainted with the Swirling Court, who are also great aficionados of paint. We would love to take this back to our dimension to show them to the mages.
You say that of his paints?
Yeah, I'm going to ask if I can take a little bit of his paint as a memento.
He says, yes, I suppose that would be all right. The Swirling Court, you say?
Yes, they are great wizards of color. Our friend Revel here is his ambition is to be one of them.
This name, the Swirling Court, it is known to me. I have heard it. They are wizards from another world, are they not?
Yes, they move across the planes of colors from place to place.
Well, you must be very, very formidable people if you have heard of them.
Yes, but you'll forgive us before Horagest reveals all of our secrets to you. And I'm like putting my hands on his shoulders, kind of steering him towards the door. Whispering in his ear, what are you doing? The less they know about us, the better.
Secrets, my friend, secrets. This place is all about secrets. We'll swap some.
And then why offer them up without one in return?
Because we know all the good secrets. We're not telling them the good ones. This is a tangential secret.
Farewell, sir. Shuffle him out.
If you're all shuffled out of the room, it will lead you to this large central area in the dungeon. This large room is outfitted as a complete alchemistry laboratory with long wooden tables and myriad wood shelves filled with strange flasks and glassware, alembics, calcinators, sublimators, athanors, retorts, and distillation apparatuses are all over the room. There's a door to the north. There's a door on the western wall as well. The place is just covered with all these devices and tools and beakers and flasks and potions and everywhere you look.
I think like a child in a candy shop, Haragast is just going to start running around and looking at things.
Indeed. Shortly after you enter the room, well, let's just go around the table. Sybil, what are you going to be doing?
I'll go look at the north door.
What about you, or Revel?
Revel is going to see if he can see anything in the tools or potions there that he might be able to use to fix his current condition.
And Orlin, what about you?
I am going to poke around until I find a particularly fancy, crystalline jar or something with some gold filigree around its side that's worth something, and spend a hunt token to get something that's worth a gold here.
You definitely can. You will be able to find you'll find a set of pewter beakers. They are worth 1 gold to the right buyer. Sybil, let's have a hunt roll.
Would trickery apply?
Where are you searching? What are you searching again?
I am investigating the door.
To the north?
Mhm.
Are you like specifically looking for traps or something like that? Is that the idea?
Yeah, yeah.
Sure, I'll take it. Go for it.
Six.
Take a token. The door is not trapped. It's perfectly normal. Iron door. Let's go over to Revel. Make your hunt roll, Revel.
Skill and rituals apply.
You're searching the other door, correct?
Oh no, I'm searching the.
Oh, the room. Oh, yeah. Yeah, sure. Yeah, go for it.
4.
Take your token. We'll come back to the terrible thing you encounter at the outset. It's I mean, it's mostly a lot of dusty junk, if I'm being honest, and not in great repair. This place doesn't seem like it's been used in a long time, but we're going to come back to that though. Horagest, you were also searching around, correct?
That's right. Yeah, I'm basically looking to either replenish my supplies, like my glass marbles or my unguents, or also possibly find other useful reagents or equipment.
Yeah, make a hunt roll.
And I think I'll use my attunement to sniff it out. I got a 5.
Nice. Take your token. We'll come back to what you find in a moment. And Orlin, you were checking the other door, correct?
No, I was just getting treasure.
Oh, that's right. That's right. Okay, so we're gonna come back then. Thank you. Horagest. Yes, you will find something that will satisfy replenishing one of your equipment things, your choice, whatever you want.
I think I will replenish my marbles up to 15, but maybe some other spherical thing just for variety's sake.
Okay, like what?
Maybe sort of metal marbles this time, perhaps.
Some ball bearings.
Ball
or
bearings.
something.
Yeah, no, I'll put ball bearings, just for variety's sake. And I'll put it back up to 15. Can I cash in 3 tokens to find some treasure as well? I still have 1 left then.
Yeah, absolutely. Do you want just like one single treasure that's worth 3 gold, or do you want 3 individual?
I think I'll have 1 single treasure that's worth 3 gold.
You find inside this room there is a small brass, like a small brass astrolabe, right? That would be a fantastic little object to have. It looks a lot like that astrolabe, or similar to the armillary sphere that was in the prison of the hated pretender. Not quite the same, but
maybe I can contact my secret star patron now and ask him what he wants with me, why he's haunting my dreams.
Indeed. But it's worth 3 gold because of its exceptionally fine make. So, and remind me, Revel, what you were searching for.
If there was anything there that might help his intangibility problem.
Oh, yeah. Not that just from a glance, you might have to like do some experimentation. But I will say, this is kind of everyone's terrible thing, any that came up. At a certain point, Sybil, you'll notice that the door begins to sort of shimmer and vibrate, and it's covered by this thin field of energy blocking egress. And you look and the other doors are doing the same. Something is quite suddenly keeping you all in here. And then little holes from the roof or the ceiling begin puff, puffing out fine black powder that is filling the room quite rapidly. Revel, it has no effect on you because of your current condition. Everyone else, what do you do when you realize this is happening?
I put on my rebreather.
Very good. Orlin.
Oh, I'm going to, I immediately go to that, you know what, I think probably the door we came in through. Oh, but it's got some kind of like force field over it or something like that, is what you're saying. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, man. Is it like, does the danger seem to be that it's sprinkling down on top of us, or that it's kind of like filling the air like a
You're going to
mist?
inhale it.
We're going to inhale
This
it.
black
All right.
powder. Yeah.
Got it. Okay. I'm gonna look like this room is full of stuff, right? So I'm just gonna look frantically around for like a bag or a sack or something that I can just put over my face and do that, so that I don't have to breathe, the air that is whatever is filling up the room here.
Yeah, you can do that. Sybil, what do you do?
So if I push on this force field, what does it do?
It just has like it doesn't hurt or anything. It just like is a field. Like it just prevents you from walking through.
And when I looked at the door, did it seem locked or?
No, the door seemed open. This is something different.
Okay. Then I will fall back on my carve to carve the force field.
Yeah, you may not have time to do that before the black powder happens, before you inhale the black powder. Is there anything you want to do to prevent that from happening, or do you just inhale the black powder?
I'll mark. I'll mark something to cover my face. Face covering. I don't know.
Yeah, you got 3 backpack slots. You're golden. We've all used up all our backpack slots. So.
What is it? I'll put. What's an abbot? Or what's the big necktie?
Oh, I don't know.
Ascot?
Ascot, yes. Yeah, I'll use that to cover my face.
To cover your face up, just a piece of clothing. That's fine. Yeah, just a cloth is fine. You're all doing this. I regret to inform you that the powder is very, very fine, and will eventually you'll inhale it. It's not poisonous though. You inhale the black powder, and the room changes. It is suddenly awash in golden amber light. And there's a man in the room with you now. He's working on something at a station, and the room looks like it may have been looked when it was like in regular use, right? Everything is neatly organized and cleaned and tended to. And this man is mixing things. There's this amber light all around. And he looks up at you and he says, "Ah, you're so very close to finding me. We've almost got you there. Just hold on for a little bit longer." And as before, the amber light is soothing and pleasant, and you reduce your starting ruin, or you reduce your ruin back to the starting value. And that concludes the session. let's do stars and wishes. Stars are things you enjoyed. Wishes are things you hope to see next time.
I enjoyed the descent into chaos and everything going up in flames. That was great.
Yeah, I for stars, I liked the whole chapel sequence. It was just great. So many good combats, so many, just the pressure is just amping up like nonstop in that space. And yeah, it was good. I like the Dark Souls vibes, the Shadow of the Colossus vibes, all that stuff was really, really fun to see it all play out. So it was great fun for me.
I gotta give a star to Drew for just, you know, diving right in at the end of the chapel scene there to see if he could maybe, you know, take it all down. That's that kind of, you know, everybody's fleeing, but there's Revel.
How metal
Yeah.
would it have been if Revel had like
Yes.
gotten a 12
Yeah,
and
that-
defeated the whole zombie horde?
That would have been
right?
fucking awesome. That
Yeah.
was, you know,
Oh,
but like
close.
we you know, we couldn't figure out what its weakness was, but I have my suspicion about what that is, but yeah, but that was cool. That was a cool moment, and in particular, kind of, you know, Revel basically like holding the door so the rest of us could escape was another, like you say, like classic, you know, zombie fiction moment that happened there. Just sort of, you know, just procedurally, like we just kind of generated it out of the fiction. It was really neat the way that came out.
I think for me, I have to say as well that the star is that chapel thing, really just from the trophy gold rules perspective. It really just demonstrated a few things about how the rules can go that I haven't really seen work at that scale before. And it just showed for me the elegance of the system, like the token economy combat. It was really just exciting narratively and mechanically, and the two were exciting because of each other.
Yeah, it was mechanically very, very cool. I'll give another star to that. Like you're right. Like a combat at that scale, the stakes being so high, people having to strategize about weak point, ruining that you did, the fact that you didn't spend your tokens earlier, like just all that stuff came together in that whole sequence, and it was really, really mechanically, it was very cool as well as fictionally. You're right.
I also learned something there that hadn't occurred to me until that very fight, which is I had always been, whenever I take a hit, I mark my armor, I mark my armor, I mark my armor. But then I'm realizing, oh, maybe doing that early is not actually the best way to do that.
You save it until you get a big hit.
Because it soaks all of it. So it's like, oh, that'd be 3 ruin. Yeah, okay. My hat takes that and not me. So that's it, because I think like I've never been in a fight that got to like 7 dice or whatever. So I didn't realize, you know, the extent to which that was actually a really good strategy, is to take a hit or 2 early so that you can save up for when you really need it.
Yeah, you always, if you can do it, you take the first couple, you take the first one ruin hits to your ruin, if you anticipate that the fight's going to go long, right? So that you can survive those big hits as it goes on. Yeah, it's an interesting thing mechanically about the game for sure.
Stars for me beyond the chapel scene, which was that was a lot of fun. To Horrorghast and Sybil dealing with errant parts of their bodies, and just the way that both of you dealt with them was a lot of fun to see.
I also really like the another star. I liked we didn't get to really do much in that room, but I liked in my mind's eye, I loved the throne room scene, like, because it was like dimly lit. It's just skeletons everywhere and just standing there, you know, just quietly, silently, ominously, kind of waiting to see what you do. You know, I don't know, the tension of that scene was really fun. I enjoyed the tension of that scene quite a lot. So, any wishes for next time?
I'm just rooting for Mary Helen now. I hope she gets what she, I hope it all turns out okay and she gets a new body and we can leave her behind in Averoigne and head back home.
Yeah, I want to see some Fall of House of Usher shit happen at the end here. Like, I hate these people, every single one of them. I hope they all burn and their house collapses on them and they all just murder each other. Is the end that I am really that's the resolution I'm pulling for next time. And anything we can do to make that happen, in my head, I'm like, how can I let that Minotaur out and not get murdered myself? There's got to be a way to do that so that he can just rampage around the place. Because the amount of chaos we caused, I'm looking for more of that next time. I feel like these people deserve nothing less than the total downfall.
The Ambers are horrible.
Of their house. So yeah.
Yeah, the Ambers are awful. The Ambers are the answer to what happens when everyone's a wizard, all doing their own different wizard shit, and they all hate each other, but they also kind of they're still Ambers, and their magic is just kind of unchecked, this is what happens, right? This house is what happens, and it's pretty wild to see it all kind of play out. So yeah. Any other wishes?
Beyond the obvious, some more gold. I hope that we get to really kind of see why is this mist keeping us here? What is happening? I'm really looking forward to those answers, or if there are answers.
Yeah, I am still intrigued by this puzzle that's here in the dungeon.
Well, part of the problem is you all didn't accomplish the set goal in the East Wing, and that's kind of an issue because the set goal was how do you escape the province? It wasn't how do you escape the house? You know how to escape the house. That's the keys. It was how to escape the province, and I'll be curious how you all handle that when the time comes. So, yeah.
Well, is that can we go back there and do
You
it?
can absolutely go back. Yeah.
Yeah,
absolutely.
we're not necessarily done with the upper floor. We just kind of shortcutted to the dungeon. So.
Yeah, I just think it's interesting that you did shortcut it. So I'm interested to see how I know how it will play out, but I'm curious to see how you all react to it.
But you know what? That's such totally an OSR thing where they're like, fuck this, we bust out our pickaxes and dig through the floor. Yeah. Well, okay, all right. I mean, the wizard's still in that wing and you still got to deal with him, but sure, roam around the dungeon for a while. That's
I was trying to also when you did that thing where you went through the floor, I was trying to put you where I thought you would be in the dungeon based off where you fell through. And I thought that was a fun moment because you actually kind of skip the puzzle, right? Because of where you were dropped. So that was kind of interesting. But any other wishes or stars? Okay, well, in that case, that was great fun. Let's stop the recording.